Alright, welcome everybody to another BDA Boxing Podcast, Super Mega Saturday edition. This is Mr. BDA with you, and as always with me, my co-host, King Bucho. King, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Man, again, before we begin, I gotta remind people that if you want to join us, go to Google Hangouts, instant messages via the email address that's on the top of your screen. That's boxingdebate@hotmail.com. That's boxingdebate@hotmail.com. First time users, I will require an email so I can send you the invite, and after that, it's one time only. You get to join us whenever you want, if you want. And man, let me tell you something, Bucho. Got a lot to talk about. First of all, we got about, what is it now? 5 big fights. Good undercards. First of all, we got Kovalev versus Mikhalkin. Is that his name? Hold on, let me check it out. I can't get these names right. But you know who I'm talking about. Kovalev versus Mikhalkin. I don't know if that's how you say it in Russian, but Kovalev-Mikhalkin for Kovalev's WBO light heavyweight title, if you care about those type of things. Bivol versus Barrera for Bivol's WBA light heavyweight title. And then over on Showtime, which starts airing 1 hour before at 9 p.m. Eastern, Deontay Wilder taking on Wilder-Ortiz for Wilder's WBC heavyweight title. And on the undercard, we have Andre Direll's rematch against Wilder-Ortiz. I don't think Direll's uncle is going to be in the corner or in the crowd. And also, if you're interested, Sergey Derevyanchenko is going to be on the undercard as well in an 8-round middleweight fight. And of course, I think if they're not fighting now, they're probably going to start in a couple of minutes. Kell versus Sergey-Rabchenko, Brook's comeback fight. And yes, I say comeback fight because I don't think the Errol Spence fight was nowhere near a comeback fight. That was a suicide mission from Brook's part. But anyway, he's coming back against a guy at 154, new division. See what he has in store. And like Undercover Asian is saying at the chat room, shout out to Undercover, he says, if anyone's interested in the UFC, Cyborg, the Destroyer of Worlds, or also known as the Destroyer of Hymens, is going to be fighting in the UFC as well. Akuma's deception, because I asked him who he's rooting for. He says, I'm not rooting for Ortiz, I'm just going with what my eyes tell me. I don't really care about the heavyweight division, to be honest. It's overrated. First of all, and we're gonna talk about this, Bucho, Wilder's weight, Ortiz's hand bump, which a lot of people are saying is nothing. So again, a lot to talk about. And if we have time to talk about Abel Sanchez, what a coincidence. We started talking about him and how he had a big mouth lately. And all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose from both Mexicans and from the LDBC, at the corner of the LDBC. First of all, let's go to the chat room and see what people are saying. Cachnello giving my fight says, what's up? What's up to you right back, Cachnello? Pavel is in the house. Cachnello says, bomb squad. Undercover Asian says, Kovalev versus Sacrificial Goat. I was actually watching a bit of Kovalev's opponent. I watched 2 of his fights on YouTube. The guy's pretty quick. But then again, it takes more than quickness to beat Kovalev. It takes skill, speed, power, and maybe a couple of nut shots. A couple of shots in the nut, you know. Undercover Asian says, I still can't believe HBO doesn't live stream their fights. The advice says no, the uncle is the most exciting in the Direll family. King Butcher says Cyborg is a tranny. You know, she cried when Joe Rogan and one of his stand-up comedy friends called her a tranny, Butcher. So maybe you should put yourself in her shoes. I was gonna say his. Put yourself in her shoes and really feel, think about how you would feel if somebody called you a tranny. You ever think about that? Alright, Butcher, let's get started, man. And by the way, are you aware of when the what's his name, Kell Brook fight is starting? Is it taking place right now, or when is it?
I don't care.
I see. That's a great attitude to take for a co-host of a boxing show. I don't care. Let me tell you something, Bucho. I've had it with your attitude so far. Your grades are going down. You're not doing your chores like you're supposed to. I mean, what's going on?
Like
What is
fucking
with
kid,
this
man.
late attitude? No,
Listen,
kid.
I don't care about Brook against Rabchenko, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch the highlights and see if he performed okay or he declined. But I'm not gonna waste my time watching that fight.
I actually think it's a pretty good fight, and I think Kell Brook deserves an easy fight after his two. Again, I think the guy was. I think he went one Halloween. I think Halloween 2015. He dressed up as a kamikaze, and he stayed in character for 2 years straight. Because man, let me tell you something. 2016, he takes on Golovkin. He shouldn't have done that at all. There was no necessity for that. Then he goes back down, even though he's a big dude, or he looked very muscle-bound at 160. He loses weight, drains himself, and takes on one of the toughest welterweights. Some people say the toughest welterweight out there. So this guy is a little insane. I'm glad he's taking a tune-up. But Bucho, let's get right down to it. Deontay Wilder weighed in at 214 yesterday. 214. I mean, when I saw that, I said, okay, so he's obviously trying to go for speed or something. But then I watched Precise Presenter's video, and he's talking about how maybe he suffered a little bit too from all that VADA testings. I mean, I gotta leave for a couple seconds, but you tell us your opinion about this whole weight thing.
Yeah, I mean, Precise has a point. It could be true. It could also be that Wilder is already planning for a 12-round fight. Like I said before, maybe he knows that if the fight goes to a decision, if it's a somewhat close decision, he will have the benefit of the doubt. Again, the PBC wants Wilder to win. They are looking for that Joshua Wilder fight. It's going to generate a lot of money. So it's up to Ortiz to actually do something in this fight, because the judges, and even the referee maybe, are on Wilder's side. So again, Wilder 214, maybe he's planning on just moving around, cruising it for 12 rounds, and then just getting the decision. He might play it safe. I don't know. Okay, I think BDA left for a bit. So yeah, I mean, I think we've talked enough about this fight. Now it's time to get the fight to take place. Let's see what people are saying in the chat.
All right, I'm back. You know, some hookers don't take. You know, there's still hookers
By the
out there
way,
that don't
I think-
accept
what
credit
else do you
cards,
have to
man.
say
Can you
about
believe that
this
shit?
fight?
I don't understand, man.
What?
I said there's still hookers out there that don't accept credit cards. Can you believe that?
My God,
They interrupt a man's
get with the
whole.
times, man.
I know, man. All right, so listen. So what were you saying, man?
Well, I was saying that, okay, one thing first.
One thing.
Wilder might be weighing at 214 because he's planning on moving around, cruising it for 12 rounds.
Mhm.
But the PED point, with the VADA testing that has been taking place, that's also a possibility. I wouldn't discount that.
No,
But, yeah, I was also, okay, go ahead.
well, we made our predictions, right? We
Yeah,
made our
exactly, that's what I'm
predictions.
saying. It's like, I think everyone has made their prediction.
But hold on a second. Now we gotta stick to them. No, you know, I'm giving you one last chance. Do you, especially considering this whole weight thing that happened.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you want to change your mind, or you want to keep your
Yeah.
pick?
Yes. Initially, I said Wilder wins by stoppage in the 10th round. Now I'm going with a 12-round decision. Wilder wins by a 12-round decision.
Okay, so just for people that didn't watch the video we posted early this week, Bucho initially had said that Wilder was going to win by awkward stoppage. And by awkward stoppage...
Oh, yeah, also I said that in the comment section somewhere, yeah. Where Ortiz quits in the corner for some reason.
That's right.
12-round decision. Wilder wins by a 12-round decision.
I'm sticking to my pick. I'm going with Wilder by awkward stoppage, controversial stoppage, and perhaps even unjust stoppage. The type of stoppage is going to make a lot of people cry foul play. That's what I'm sticking to. That's the pick I made. A man has to stick by his picks, unlike King Bucho, who's all over the place flip-flopping. But I'm not gonna change my pick. And by the way, Bucho, I was reading the comments, and people are saying, well, you know, Ortiz's hand bump It's always been there. It's no big deal. First of all, the media kept grilling him about it, and he showed up at the press conference wearing gloves. Or as somebody in our comment section said, I forgot who he was, but he said he was wearing his OJ gloves. Freaking OJ gloves. And then he says, people asked him, or I think he himself clarified that, oh, I'm wearing gloves because it's cold. This whole thing about these South American or Latin fighters, I should say, going over to New York and saying it's cold. Hey, it's cold all over the place, man. You don't wear gloves just because it's a little cold, and especially if it's indoors. So something's going on here. I think he's self-conscious about that bump. Second of all, people say, well, he's had that bump for a while. I was looking for pictures of that bump on Google Images. I couldn't find any. So far, I mean, listen, if anybody out there in the chat can provide some sort of evidence that he's had this bump, as big a bump as it looks now, because right now, like I said, it looks like he's growing a Cueto out of his hand. It is disgusting. It looks like it's gonna grow eyes in the mouth at some point. I want to see some evidence that he's always has that. If not, guy's got a fucked up hand.
Start the reactor.
Start the reactor. Yeah, they're cutting off the oxygen from his... You know what? I think Ortiz, he doesn't even have a family. His real family is living in the sewers, and the people above are cutting the oxygen from them. And so now it's time for Ortiz. If he loses this fight, the oxygen doesn't get plugged back in. You think anybody's getting the references there, Bucho? Or
I don't think so.
Are we just speaking to ourselves? All right. So anyway, it's a big fight, man. I got a question for you, Bucho. Are you looking forward to more to this fight than to Joshua Parker?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Sorry, because I got a message. If you look at Skype, it's too little who's saying he's watching the Kell Brook fight.
Oh, it started already. Okay. So out there, people, fuck spoilers. If you want to post some spoilers, go ahead. Keep us informed. Keep us updated. I'm not watching the fight right now. How about you, Bucho? Are you watching the fight? Or?
No, I was gonna try to find a stream here because they're not showing it over here. But
okay, so
I don't think so.
Jahobi says that BDA. Look at Montero's Twitter page. He showed pics of that bump from 2016. So there might be something there. Let me look up Montero's Twitter.
Okay, so whatever. Listen, who cares? We're making a big deal out of this piece of, like, this bump.
Well, that's not natural. What the hell is it? Is it a cyst? Is it a calcified? I mean,
no. Yeah, it's one. Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe one calcified. You know, when a lot of boxers have that in their joints.
That's the first time I've seen it. I'll tell you that much right now. I think I smell some foul play here. I smell something weird going on. I'll tell you that much right now. I don't like it. BDA does not like what he's seeing. And I'm looking at Montero's Twitter. How far back do I have to go to find this photograph? I don't see it.
Forget it.
You mean forget it? I want some proof. And by the way,
let me try to find it.
I just saw Luis Ortiz on Showtime. They did a little feature on him. So if anybody wants to check that out, yeah, I can't find the photo. Listen, maybe I trust you guys out there. If you say he's had it since 2016 or maybe even before, all right, fine. But now we gotta. I mean, this whole Wilder thing. This guy fucking 214 pounds. Bucho. Usually he comes in at what, 220 something?
222.
222, yeah, something like that. I mean, this is...
it's weird. It's weird. And he's 32 years of age.
And think about it. Think about it this way. He's always being cut. Like, there's very little fat on him. So that means he must have lost muscle. He didn't lose fat, he lost muscle. He lost about 8 pounds of muscle. And remember, there's no redehydration or anything here because these guys are heavyweights. They don't need to cut weight. So that means that he's 214, he's 214. He lost 8 pounds from here and since his last fight, which was what was it, his last fight, November, December, or way before that against Steven? No, that was September, right? That was August or September. So that's about 5 months, somewhere along those lines. He lost 14 pounds. I mean 8 pounds. Something is wrong here. What are people saying in the chat room? Koran Bread says, yo fellas, what it do? Shout out to Koran Bread. Kell Brook is gonna chin check this guy, says Akuma's Deception. Undercover Ration says, if the cyst bursts, maybe it goes into Wilder's eye, blinds him like Chong Li, did to Frank Dux. That's a good point.
Breaking news.
Breaking news, go ahead.
Stuart Little says Brook won by brutal stoppage in round 2.
Let me tell you something about Kell Brook, and this is why a lot of people have to give Golovkin and Errol Spence credit. The guy can crack. The guy has good power. Very good power. I'm very familiar with Kevin Bizier, one of those guys that he beat. And a lot of people like to say, oh, he's a bum. Kevin Bizier is a bum. The guy's a tough guy. Very tough, durable guy. The fact that Brook was able to get him out as fast as he did really shows you about his skills and his power. And the fact that Errol Spence was able to walk through his shots. And I know some people are going to say, well, Brook was drained. Okay, maybe it did affect him late in the fight. But you think early on when he was battering and landing that right hand on Errol Spence's face.
Well, it was a close fight at the beginning.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it never really, or maybe once, it seemed like Errol Spence was affected by the shots, but for the most part, he was able to walk through it. So you got to give Errol Spence credit. The guy's a tough guy.
Sean Porter, was he walking through, Jesus Christ, Brook's punches?
He was jumping through his shots, yeah.
Well, he wasn't afraid.
No. Yeah,
I mean, a tough guy. Yeah, I'm not discrediting.
Sounds like you are.
The power of Brook, but I'm saying it's possible for elite boxers, or somewhat elite. Because Sean Porter, I mean, it's questionable if he's elite boxer in my opinion. But I mean, they can take some of Brook's punches. Let's not start saying that Brook is some sort of fucking Golovkin.
No, he's not. Right? He's not. But here's the thing: you just said Sean Porter walked through the shots as well, and there's a lot of people out there that think Sean Porter sucks. That he's got no skills.
That he sucks.
Okay,
I mean, but sucks. I mean, he's not a bomb. He's not an elite boxer. He's in the middle.
But right now, for the welterweight division, it seems to be enough for him to be the third best welterweight.
Fucking shit. Hold on.
Are you in the microwave? Are you touching the microwave? Is that what you're doing?
No, the oven. Some shit's gonna burn here.
The oven? What are you cooking yourself a little hot pocket there? We're trying to do a podcast here, Bucho. What are you doing? Anyway, let me read what the people are saying. By the way, Bucho, are you there or?
Yeah.
What do you think about the green letters? Is that okay, or is that too Halloweeny for you or something?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure. Maybe I was thinking going for people, their names would be red, yours would be green, and mine would be orange. But anyway, well, whatever. I like it this way. It goes with the flow.
Oh God! All right, I'll be back.
All right. So Akuma's Deception saying Wilder is a hypocrite. He's calling all these guys steroid users, but he's probably been on the juice his entire career. Also, the WBC already exposed themselves as frauds with the Nery situation. Let's talk about Luis Nery. And I want to go back to what Akuma just... And I want to ask you a question based on what Akuma said. But a lot of people right now are going on about Abel Sanchez. Because not only did he piss off the LDBC, he also pissed off a lot of Mexicans by going after Canelo. So he's pissing off people on both sides. But good for him. He went on those shows, on some of those shows, and he went at them direct. He's not hiding behind a publicist or anything. So good for Abel Sanchez. I've never had a problem with Abel Sanchez other than with the fact that he trash talks a lot for his fighter, as opposed to being a little more reserved and just, if there's no smack talk to be done, then don't smack talk. But he's trying to get into Canelo's head, so I agree. I agree. I understand what he's doing. And I don't have a problem with what he said lately. People are making big deal, but what I do have a problem with, I'll tell you what, which is something that really matters, is this Luis Nery guy. First of all, he ended up testing positive in his first fight against, what's his name? Japanese guy. Let's call him Japanese guy. I can't look up the name right now, and I'm not going to butcher it, all right? But Luis Nery tested positive for one of those diuretics. I think it was a diuretic. So he's a heavy guy. Very heavy guy, juicing, and he ends up winning by stoppage. As far as I know, he never apologized for what happened. He's, again, like most fighters, he makes excuses about what happened. I wasn't aware of it. I think that's what he said. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but point is, he got caught using something. Now he comes back in a rematch. He goes back for a rematch, comes in overweight, tries to lose the weight, still overweight. Some people say at least almost two weight divisions over. Yeah, undercover agent saying Yamaha. Is that really his name? Or anyway, point is, he comes in overweight. I didn't see the fight. I didn't bother seeing it after I read the result. I don't want to see that. It's unfair to see an overweight guy who's cheated before and had gotten caught, and now he's brutalizing this guy lighter guy, older guy as well, and he's celebrating after the win. And then he says, you know, I want another title shot. How about you redeem yourself first? Getting yourself into 360, year-round testing is what I'm trying to say. Get your ass, your fat, doping ass, on year-round testing. Now, listen, maybe I'm being too harsh here. Maybe walk on another person's shoes before you start talking. But come on, 2 times now he's done shenanigans. He's pulled off this BS. First with getting caught with diuretics, and now not being able to make weight. It seems like he didn't even really try, if you think about it. And that's the other thing. When these guys miss weight for by that much weight, don't you think they're weighing themselves prior to the fight or during the build-up to the fight? They're weighing themselves all the time. Especially during the week of the fight, if they have to lose a lot of weight, they're weighing themselves every day to see how much they're losing, how much water weight they gotta lose. You know, if they can suck on 3 ice cubes or 1 instead of 3, depending on how much sweat they have to expunge. So this guy knew what was going on. They probably say, you know, we'll try our best, we'll make it seem as if we try to lose the weight, and then. Most fighters, when their opponent is overweight, they don't cancel the fight because they trained as well. They don't want to lose that payday, so they go, you know what, let's go ahead with the fight. Worst case scenario, he comes in drained or something. Because maybe he did try to lose the weight, I don't know. So they go in there and they get butchered. So this Luis Neri guy, I was hoping he was going to be, he's an action fighter, I was hoping he was going to do some big things. But, it's just disgusting, really. Absolutely disgusting, and that pisses me off more than the... Oh, Stu's in here. Hey, Stu, how are you, man? Stu, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Alright, perfect,
how you doing,
man.
boys?
Good, how are you, man? I get it, you just finished watching the Brook fight?
Yeah, I've just watched it. It was a brutal KO.
Alright, well, let me just...
Do you even care?
No, I don't care. But let me just finish what I'm saying about Luis Neri, and we'll get to Wilder, because this Luis Neri guy, really, he is what's wrong with boxing. People right now, maybe they would prefer talking about what Abel Sanchez said, and the tears that everybody's shedding over what he said, because they get a little ouchy in their hearts because of what Abel Sanchez said. You know what? Abel Sanchez pisses me off too. And he pissed me off a little bit with his comments towards Canelo, because the guy, not that I'm a Canelo fan, but the fact that he won't stop talking for his fighter as opposed to just keeping his mouth shut. But then again, it's strategic, so I understand why he's doing it. But that's annoying. What he said about, racist and everything, who cares? If it's true, it's true, and if it's not true, it's not true. I don't understand why people are getting so upset about it. Second of all, Luis Neri is the guy we should be focusing on, about really what he did wrong. And the fact that most people are overlooking it and concentrating on false drama just goes to show you the standards that some people have in boxing. It's not really about protecting fighters, it's about the drama. Because that's more entertaining and fulfilling for some people than actually targeting and talking about these guys that are doping and are deliberately missing weight in order to brutalize other fighters during fights. That's my thing with that. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Stu, I gotta ask you, man. Returning to the Wilder situation. The guy weighed in at 214 at the weigh-in. From what I understand, that's about 8 pounds off of what he weighed in last time and what he usually weighs. Should that be of some concern for Wilder fans? Okay, I think Stu left, Bucho.
Yeah.
He dropped out. Maybe something wrong with the connection. But, shit, I lost... I wanted to piggyback off of what Akuma's Deception had said before regarding Wilder. But anyway, right now he's saying... Well, Undercover Asian says, first of all, fun fact, Shinsuke should have been pronounced Shinsuke. Okay, well, that's good to know. Akuma's Deception says, Abel shouldn't have stereotyped groups of people, but what he said had a grain of truth to it. Slick defensive style does not sell to casuals. Let me tell you something. Abel Sanchez, he doesn't really think before he speaks. But I don't think he was... I think this was one of those cases, and again, I could be wrong, but I think this is one of those cases when people just throw the... when people say, well, Mexicans fight this way. It's not that he deliberately wants to generalize, it's that people forget to say most before they talk about an ethnic group. But you know what? If you're a smart person, you're supposed to know that obviously he's not saying all. He's not talking in absolutes.
No, but these LDBC people get more riled up when someone claims that or makes the claim that there are certain styles that are not appealing to fans, which is true. Nobody wants to see a 12-round pity pat hold, grab and hold fight. And they get all pissed off, but they know it's true.
But I gotta ask you
and then
something.
They go, because these people are casuals, they're not hardcore boxing fans like us who enjoy 12-round fights. Bullshit, man.
But I gotta ask you.
These people started enjoying 12-round fights when Mayweather became popular.
Okay,
so
but
since they were defending everything Mayweather.
I think what
go ahead.
I think what he should have said. I think what he should have said was the African American style is boring. I think he'd have probably got less flack because
he said that.
That's well, he said the black.
Oh, you mean
okay,
yeah. But you know what? Obviously, yeah, you're right. But we know what he means.
It's a black thing. I don't think it's a black thing. I do think it's more of an African American style that they've got bred into them to just be safety first, be awkward, safety and slick and pick your way to a points win basically, and that's a lot of American fighters.
Well, let me tell you this.
That's where he went wrong. I mean,
let me tell you this. Hold on. Let me say something. Bucho, can I say something?
American fighters, black American fighters. I never thought about blacks in like in throughout the whole world.
But Bucho, let me clarify something here that happened with Abel Sanchez. He said black style of fighters, right? But here's the thing: the style of fighting, of boxing and doing the bare minimum to win, that's a style. Boxing from afar and moving, that's a style. It's not a black style. Now, why have black fighters, or most black fighters, in other words, American fighters, why have they adopted this style? Because it suits their physicality. Most black fighters are faster because they have those fast twitch muscles.
No.
Hold on.
So you're saying
they're more agile. Hold on, let me finish,
right,
please. They're more agile, they have better reflexes, and it suits their style more. Now, you have guys like Errol Spence. By no means is he a runner. What's his name? Terence Crawford, when he fights, fought Postal, he'll move a lot, but he'll also stand his ground and punch, and they'll move out of the way. It's not like he's a runner. So it's a style that exists, and most American fighters are taught that style because it suits more of their physicality. I think that's a fair thing to say.
I think it's the Floyd Mayweather effect.
That too.
I think a lot of fighters have seen how he's con the public into hundreds of millions of dollars to stink the joint out, fight after fight, and basically go home with as least damage as possible and as much money in his pocket. And a lot of them are trying to copy that brand, but I think Floyd is the last of that era. Boxing fans are not going to accept them performances no more. But these days you have to put on a show, and this is why a lot of them are struggling in America, because they've got the UFC and they're getting shows week in, week out. So why they're going to put their money in, which is a lot of money in America, $90 for a fight it's a lot of money to watch a boxing fight on a TV, and you've got to bring something exciting. And a lot of these fighters have adapted a boring style, and that's why they're suffering. It's nothing to do with the colour of their skin. It's the boring style a lot of them have.
And I agree with you. And here's an example of why it doesn't have to do with the colour of the skin. Vladimir Klitschko was a failure in the United States because of his style. And last time I checked, he was white as fuck. So don't give me that bullshit that because he's white. Look, Klitschko failed because he's boring.
Look how boring Robert Helenius was against Dillian White. I mean, it was a hideous performance. Just came to survive, horrible through Rigondeaux amount of punches. So 6 punches around, if that. I mean, so it's not. But I think in America there's a lot of fighters like that. I mean, you've got your Errol Spences that seems to want to come and win fights by devastating KO, and he's getting a lot of credit for it. But a lot of the fighters, I mean, I think with Wilder, he's knocking people out. He's not fighting like that. But I think the whole package of Wilder is a bit of a turn-off, isn't it? He just comes across... he's not a very likeable man. Let's just put it like that. I think you've got to have a bit of likability in you as well. I mean, because a lot of these lads are very media trained in America. I've noticed that a lot about fighters. Very media trained, don't have a lot to say. And the ones that do have a lot to say are usually loudmouths that go over the top, like Deontay. So there's no mix where Joshua's got the mix down to a T. And I mean, if it weren't for white people, Joshua wouldn't make nowhere near the money he does, because his biggest fan base is white people in England. They're the ones that flock to his fights and pay his pay-per-views. So I don't think it's a race thing. I think it's more the style.
I also think Wilder's little gig has gotten old. Okay, he knocks out people. Who is he knocking out? How is he the fights always play out the same way? He's kind of struggling. He's throwing punches in the air, windmills. and then he gets the guy out. It's always the same story against the same opponent, so people are getting boring. They just want to see Wilder fight Joshua and get it over with. Let's see who's the best. We don't want to see these little shit fights.
I mean, when you got 40 fights and you can't, these names, you can't think of any decent names that roll off the tongue when you talk about his resume. I mean, it's just bum after bum after bum. I mean, he fought Jason Gavin in his 32nd fight. I mean, Joshua knocked that bum out in his 10th fight, I think. You know, this is where we are with Deontay Wilder, and I think he's left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. You know, the man claims to be the best, but
he hasn't unified.
No, and he's stepped up this weekend. Fair enough, he has. But
yeah,
let's look at the facts here. Wilder-Ortiz, he's 50 years old. I don't care what anyone says. That man is 50 years old. Now he might tell you he's younger than that, but and he's a very talented guy. But I think it's a good time to catch Ortiz. I really do.
Well, here's the thing about Deontay Wilder is this is a big fight. I know some people are saying that, and I thought so too. First of all, from Ortiz's hand bump, which a lot of people are saying it's okay, he's had for a while now. All right, fine. Let's say it's something that's not going to affect him. But now Wilder comes in on 214. This is the PBC after all. We know Wilder is the golden goose for the PBC right now in the heavyweight division. There's a big money fight down the line against Anthony Joshua. I don't see a fair stoppage here. Like, if I were a betting man, which I'm not, but if I had to bet, I would put money on something going wrong tonight. A controversial decision, controversial stoppage, controversial something. You name it, it's going to happen. So I'm hoping for an entertaining fight. I'm hoping
I wouldn't bet against that myself, because with Wilder, you just don't know what's going to happen with the guy. Controversy seems to surround him. Controversy seems to surround Deontay Wilder. I think he's got a lot of people doing him a lot of favors, if you get what I'm saying.
Well, look, listen, we don't know what's going to happen really. I mean, I'm just speculating here. My radar is going off. Too many things going against Ortiz. But then again, even if they weren't, I'm being fair here. I think Wilder still beats him. So it's not like I'm a Ortiz fan and making excuses for him, because I know what some people are going to say. But now it's also possible that all of that gets undone and Ortiz lands a big punch and ends it all. I mean, listen, let's remember Sergio Martinez, when he fought Paul Williams, what was it, 8 years ago in the rematch, everything was against him again. It was Al Heyman, Paul Williams. Sergio Martinez was a champ and he came out first to the ring, which is usually the champ comes out second. So they broke that sacred unwritten boxing rule because he wasn't the favorite for that fight. He didn't have the management backing him up. And what did he do? Second round knockout. So maybe Ortiz can pull something off like that. I mean, we all know Deontay Wilder doesn't have a great chin. But here's the thing. When people are talking about, and I've seen this in a couple of channels, first of all, it's the same people who, for the most part, are complaining about what Abel Sanchez said, as opposed to complaining about the real culprit, the real bad guy this past week, which was Luis Neri. But again, very few people are talking about him. Well, not very few, but I mean, just based on what I'm seeing, I write boxing on YouTube and I write upload date, and that seems to be the most relevant thing. There are people talking about what Abel Sanchez said, but regardless of that, Deontay Wilder is fighting Ortiz here. And a lot of people are talking about, oh, you know, Joshua is avoiding Wilder. And then other people saying Wilder is avoiding Joshua. He's avoiding it, and they get into arguments. Who cares if... I don't think both guys are avoiding each other. I think they know the fight's going to get made down the line. They're just trying to milk something, and that's it. But the fight is going to happen. There's too much money involved for it not to happen. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I wrong here, or...
Yeah, I agree, mate. At the end of the day, hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Just 1 minute.
All right.
Yeah, that fight will happen. And they both know it's gonna happen, and so that's why I'm saying that Wilder's gonna be very cautious in this fight, because losing this fight, I mean, that's a big blow for Wilder. He might not even get the Joshua fight anymore, and that's a big money fight. So
yeah, but
it's happening, and nobody's scared of anybody.
Exactly. But people get too hung up. I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, Butch. I think we've talked about this before. People get too hung up on the discussion of who's avoiding who. You really think these guys are avoiding each other? It's the biggest fight for them out there.
They want money, and this is a money fight. And this isn't Mayweather trying to protect a record because he's obsessed with an O. I don't think Wilder or Josh are obsessed with their O's, with their zeros in their records. Yes, they want to remain undefeated. Don't get me wrong, but they're not gonna go to fucking crazy lengths just to keep that zero. They won't take fucking a year layoff and see how the division plays out. They won't cherry pick. I think these guys are genuine and they want to fight each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do you think about that, Stu?
Yeah, I mean, Deontay Wilder is. You got to give him credit for stepping up. There's not a lot of people that want to fight Ortiz.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we have to give him credit here. But then, it's one of them where it's about fucking time, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people have lost patience with Wilder. I think if he gets a good win tonight, I think he could have a lot of people start believing in him. But while he's fighting bums and struggling with them, let's not pretend he's got that equalising power. But let's not pretend he hasn't struggled with some of these opponents as well, who are not very talented fighters. So,
yeah,
it's a hard one for me because I'm not sure what Luis Ortiz is going to come in the ring tonight. He's not been active. He's an old man, clearly. Is he going to just go in the ring and freeze like Stavern did and just, well, if it's another Stavern performance, and I don't know what to say.
Well, let me tell you something. I think people underestimate how quick Wilder is in that ring. They step in there, they see this long, lanky guy who's a little awkward, off balance, and they don't expect that long right hand to get there as quickly as it does. That's why Wilder, most of the time, he gets quick knockouts because the guys, they're not used to that speed coming at them. And Ortiz, old guy, slow.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said, man.
No, I was agreeing with you, bro. He's spot on. The pace it comes and from the distance it comes. It's a bit of a spear, isn't it? His right hand is a spear, and it hits you so quick and so hard. I think that's what knocks people clean out, the force of it. But a lot of it is I wouldn't say it's great timing. I just think it's natural power that he's got. And as you step up in world class, as you step up in ability and fight world class fight, what to look for from big shots and how to take your tools away from you, then power punches. There's always a way to beat a power punch, way to beat Golovkin. As much as he comes forward and he cuts off the ring, he throws these bombs, there's still a way to beat him. It's been proved, even Canelo in little bits. Kell Brook showed it as well. In little bits, they showed what to do to beat this guy. So that there's always a way to win a fight.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, with Wilder, I think he does have a little bit of precision. Otherwise, he wouldn't be landing that right hand. But I'm telling you, man, there's something awkward about the guy that people don't see coming. And Luis Ortiz, like I was saying, he's old, he's slow, which isn't a good combination when you're stepping in against Deontay Wilder. By the way, it's in the chat room.
This is it. I mean, and where he's just coming forward with his hands up and he's taking big right hands. I mean,
yeah, I'm hoping to see a good action fight. At least it's an interesting fight because anything could happen. Both guys punch hard and both guys are confident or appear to be confident. But then again, all that confidence can go away if you eat one big right hand or one big left hand. So, I mean, I'll keep an eye on that. And by the way, the fight is on Showtime. The card is starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. And the HBO one starts at 10:05 p.m. Eastern, I believe. So, there might be a little bit of an overlap. But depending on how fast the undercards are done, we might be able to see both main events on separate occasions. Bucho, what are you saying? Change the name of what? Of the video.
Yeah, it says midweek hangouts.
Oh, yeah. All right. You can't do this, huh? You don't have access to.
I don't know. From here, I don't know.
Because catching me off guard here while I'm doing the show. Boxing. Why is it called Boxing Hangouts? It's called Saturday Boxing Podcast.
What do you think about Wilder's comments about Eddie Hearn?
What did he say? What did he say?
Look, what, Eddie Hearn? What he said about Eddie Hearn?
Yeah.
You don't know?
No. Was it recently or?
Wilder said about Eddie Hearn's a white man milking another brother, sort of thing. That's all he is.
Oh man.
Yeah, I read that.
You know that?
Or I heard about.
I mean,
Wilder saying he was milking him dry or something.
Because Eddie Hearn's milking Joshua 15 million a fight. Yet the white guy beside him, Lou DiBella.
Well,
yeah, exactly. Can't even sell. Wilder can't even sell out against Ortiz. I mean, this is a guy, Wilder, who was asking for $7 million to fight Dillian Whyte. He's like, I'll go to the UK for $7 million to fight Dillian Whyte. Are you fucking out of your mind? Stay in the US, man. Stay in there. And how much money are you gonna get? How much people are you gonna get in your arena? Get out of here.
The guy's he's a funny guy. I'll give him that.
Yeah, listen, promoters are always going to get a bigger piece of the action, of the money when it comes to fights. They're the ones that are organizing everything, and they've been doing that since boxing's been around. Every promoter does that. It's not, there's no difference between a white promoter and a black promoter. Again, people commenting about race and we're falling for it. Come on. I think we got better things to talk about here. For example, Wilder versus Joshua is going to happen, I believe. The question, however, is where would it happen? First of all, Wilder has to get past Ortiz. But whether, first of all, isn't Ortiz promoted by Eddie Hearn as well? I think
not anymore.
He was, I think.
He was, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know still.
He
that's a good
was.
question.
He had two fights.
Uh-huh.
I think they were trying to set him up to fight Joshua, but I don't know. It didn't go through.
By the way, somebody in the chat room is saying that Canelo Chavez did more pay-per-views than Canelo Triple G. From what I understand, that's not correct. They did about the same, but from what I read, Canelo versus Triple G did a little more than Canelo Chavez. So I don't know why they're discussing that so vehemently in the chat room. Okay,
there's a debate in the chat room about whether Canelo is a bigger star than Golovkin or the other way around. Also, Crawford is involved. Who's bigger, Crawford or Lomachenko?
Oh, come! I think
Crawford. Yeah, yeah.
Man, whatever. We'll let them sort it out. Oh, I see Del Boy's Boxing News is in the house. Shout out to Del Boy. Tubes is in the house. Michael Stock as well. Shout out to those guys. Shout out to Jesus Rodriguez Vidal, Caroline Lambert, Nick 46 as well. And by the way, Ray subscribed today to BDA Live, which I don't think he was aware that we had a second channel either.
Yeah, I'm telling you, a lot of people don't know that we have a second channel. So
well, they're starting to come around.
Gotta spread the word. Yeah.
All right, listen.
They're slowly finding out.
On the undercard of Wilder-Ortiz, should that fight end up being a bore fest or a controversial stoppage or whatever that's unsatisfying, we do have Uzcategui and his rematch against Andre Direll. Of course, that fight is now legendary based off what Direll's uncle did post-fight by slamming his fist into Uzcategui's face. It cost a lot of drool or sweat, I don't know what it was, liquid, to spray from Uzcategui's head. It looked like it was a hard punch, but Uzcategui, tough guy that he is, barely blinked when he took the shot, and he actually seemed a little bemused, or should I say amused, by the punch. Whatever happened there, he's going to be taking on Direll again. Bucho, how do you see that fight going?
It's gonna, I don't know, it's gonna go 12 rounds again, probably. Well, it didn't go 12 rounds the first time, but it might go 12 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe another sloppy-ass fight from both of them.
How about you, Stu? Are you looking forward to that fight, or how do you see that one playing out?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I live in the English countryside, and my internet's not the best. I can't get fibre out here. There's only one user that'll give us it, so and it's not the best. So I do apologise.
Were you using satellite internet or what?
You know about the Dirells?
Yes, we're talking about Direll versus Uzcategui.
Yeah, not a fan of Andre Direll, I'm afraid. Never have been.
Well, I'll tell you what about. Listen, Direll.
They're drama queens, aren't they?
Yeah, they're drama queens all the way, and you know, his first shot on HBO, I think it was his first shot on HBO, was a couple of, what was it, 8, 9, maybe even 10 years ago, when he took on Curtis Stevens, and he stunk the joint out. I mean, this guy, from the beginning of his career, has given us subpar performances, which is a shame, because I've said it before, a long time, I've said it. The Direll brothers have all the physical talent in the world to have become great fighters, and they're still going at it, but underachievers, considering everything that we thought they were going to accomplish after they came out of the Olympics. Maybe tonight's the night, but I think the Direll brothers are a little bit in the Sab Judah category. Extremely talented, but there's just something missing. And like Stu said, they're drama queens. I mean, come on, I'll go back to the whole Direll-Abraham thing. And by the way, Bucho, Stu dropped out again. I think
he'll be back.
Okay, but I think his internet connection. But anyway, Direll-Abraham, that fight, I remember when it happened and people were defending Direll, saying, but come on, he got hit after the bell. I mean, when he was on the ground, don't you guys see he got hit? And I'm thinking, rewatch that. Watch how he gets punched. He looks at the referee, and then he crumbles onto the... I mean, there's no such thing as a delayed reaction knockout like that. You get punched, your lights out go immediately if it is a hard punch. It's not like, boom, get hit, you get a little second to relax, to look outraged, and then all of a sudden you flop in the ring. That's not how it works. And I don't understand why people were defending him. I mean, so, again, he's the 168-pound version of Zahir Rahim. I don't know if people remember Zahir Rahim, but again, another talented guy who would always weird stuff happening in his fights. And I'm rooting for the Direll brothers because I want to see them. It's a shame that they have all this talent and there's something missing there. And for Andre Direll, the Uzcategui fight would be the first step in undoing everything that happened. But if it's been about 14 years since the 2004 Olympics, so far he has not delivered. So I'm kind of apprehensive about, or dubious I should say, that all of a sudden, one night, he's going to pull it out and really get his act together.
I don't know. I just don't know with Andre Direll anymore. I mean, how many times is he going to get out of a fight? You can have all the skills in the world, but if you haven't got the stomach or the heart, then boxing's the wrong game for you. Now, Direll's been blessed with a lot of talent. I seriously think he's a very talented guy, but you've got to have the minerals as well to be at the top level in world boxing, and I just don't think he's got the minerals, mate.
Absolutely, man. There's something missing with him, either whether it's mental or it's just he's not into it. He lacks the skills to adapt when the fight gets rough. I don't know, but like you said, there's something missing. There's an X factor they're missing. I mean, you take a look at his Olympic teammate, Andrew Ward. Andrew Ward's not as physically talented as Direll. He doesn't punch as hard. He's not as fast. I mean, he's pretty quick, but he's not the physical specimen that Andrew Direll is. And look at everything Andrew Ward did. Now, did he do it?
Oh, he's dirty as fuck.
I know, but he didn't do it. He may not have done it the legit way, but what I'm saying is he overcompensated. He overcompensated for his lack of talent. Meanwhile, Direll and his brother as well, Anthony, all the talent in the world. And it's, like I said, they're not going to pull it together from one night to the other. I don't think. But I'm rooting for
Andre Ward's very strong in the clinch. His strength is underrated, and I think his mental toughness as well.
Yeah, he's mentally tough. I mean, he's willing to do whatever it takes.
Traits that Direll just doesn't have. I thought, believe it or not, when I first saw Direll and Ward, I thought Direll was the better fighter. But like I said, it takes more than just being talented. You have package, and although I hate the way Ward beat Kovalev, it's disgusting. Ward is a top fighter, and he's got more to his game than Direll. He's got more belief for a start. I don't think Direll believes in himself. I think Ward does, and Ward's got a mental toughness, and he's just a very strong guy, very physically strong as well, physically tough. So, and I don't think Direll has them characteristics. I just don't think he does, and I think that's where he falls.
Yeah, Andrew Ward is very competitive. He's got that competitive edge to him. He doesn't want... I bet he's the type of guy that whether you're playing basketball with him or playing darts or playing ping pong, whatever, he just does not want to lose.
I bet he doesn't even want to lose to his kids.
Yeah, I bet so too. I think there's something in the back of his mind going, shit, I lost to a kid, come on. And then he beats them up afterward. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's beating his daughter 6-0 on FIFA, and he's still going for more goals, isn't he?
No, but listen. But what I'm trying to highlight is exactly what you said, and about how it takes more in boxing than just physical talent. Now, people love to talk about, putting all together. And like I said, Stu, when I saw Direll fighting, when he first became a pro, I remember Andrew Ward was struggling early in his career, and people thought that Direll was the one, like you said, that was going to go farther in his career, and it turned out to be the opposite. So for all of you out there that are looking at prospects, remember, physical talent does not equate to success in boxing. It can help.
Well, look where it got. Look, Cole Froch did everything wrong. He got his feet mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
He lunged in. He kept his left hand down. He did everything wrong, but his strength, his toughness, his punching power, and his heart and his chin, all like physical attributes, got him through them fights. Because look at the time where he had to grit down on his gum shield, man, and fucking hang in there when he's in big wars with Kessler and Groves.
Mm-hmm.
And either way, he always had a chance. Froch, physically strong, physically tough, but he had no boxing skills really. He had a good jab, I'll give him that, but he was all over the place. But he was a very good British world champ. Well, one of the best super middleweights we've had in this country. So it just shows sometimes you don't need all. There's certain fighters where you don't really need a lot of talent, just a bit of punching power, good chin, and a good will to win, and it'll get them so far in boxing. But if you want to be at the elite, the top level, then you need to have the full package.
I completely agree, man. And I've said that before about certain fighters. All you really need is one good physical attribute, mix in a couple of things in there, and you can go very far in boxing. For example, Marcus Maidana. Yeah. Very bad technique when he punched, really. If you saw, he was clubbing guys. He wasn't punching, he was clubbing. But he had world-class power, a good chin, heart. He always came forward. And when he got together with Robert Garcia, he started mixing in a couple of boxing skills, and all of a sudden he became a very difficult guy to beat, because now he had power, he had somewhat good defense, and he was setting up his shots more. So that's all you really have to do. Just add a couple of wrinkles to his game. You don't have to be Juan Manuel Marquez.
Early Brandon Rios.
Yeah, Brandon Rios.
Brandon Rios. Another one.
Early Brandon Rios. Early Brandon Rios, when he had some more pep in his step.
Well, he was a lightweight, right?
Yeah, when he was a lightweight, yeah.
Yeah, but then he moved up and he lost the power.
Mm-hmm.
And he became even slower.
He was a lot. It was a bit of a weight bully, I think, with Brandon Rios. I think he was a bit of a weight bully. I think as soon as he started fighting guys his own size that could take his punching power, then he was in trouble.
Well, you saw what happened when he started facing bigger guys, like you said, when he fought Alvarado the first time. But then again, Alvarado's a pretty big guy himself, but he looked bigger than Rios, and Rios was about to lose that fight. I mean, you really watch it. It came down to the wire for both those guys, and Rios was really fortunate that he was able to get the stoppage in the first one, and then you saw what happened in the second fight. But yeah, you put him in there against big guys or guys where he no longer had that weight advantage, and all of a sudden he was struggling. He was struggling against, what's his name? The Argentinian guy, Chavez, Diego Chavez. So, again,
Chavez, yeah.
Yeah, Brandon Rios is another one that really struggled. And then again, if we're talking about styles matchups and how sometimes you don't have to be the most technical either, you take a look at Ricardo Mayorga. When he was a wild man and he was able to beat Vernon Forrest, who for all intents and purposes on paper, he should have never lost to Mayorga. But Mayorga was hungry, he had power, he had tenacity, he was audacious, and he went in there and got the win the first time, and then the second one, Vernon Forrest was scared.
That was a Vernon Forrest who just beat a prime Shane Mosley.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, Mayorga, man, sometimes in boxing, it's really, remember, it's two guys punching each other over the head. Yes, it's called a sweet science and technique counts for something. But like I said, sometimes all you need to have is one big physical attribute, one apparent physical attribute like hand speed or reflexes or power, most of the time power. That's really the best one to have if you don't have good technique. And boy, oh boy, can you go far in life with that.
When you're fighting, you don't have any pop in your punches. The fight becomes a very hard fight for you. It's usually if you're quite durable yourself, it's usually a 12-round war. It's never an early night, is it, for you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing I've always said. I think the top fighters have always got to have enough power.
Yes.
To at least stop fighters or get when they're throwing the towel in. You don't have to knock them out, or at least stop them coming forward. But when you've got a guy constantly coming forward, you're walking through your punches, it's disheartening. And you see, got a lot of skill, but they get worn down at the end because their punches are just not causing any damage. I think I don't care who you are, you do need.
I completely agree with everything you just said. People like to, again, I love the boxing and the sweet science aspect of it, but you have to be realistic. Like you said, you need to have some sort of power. I'm not saying Stevenson type power. I'm not talking Kovalev-Mikhalkin type power. I'm talking just enough. Because here's the thing: most people don't understand how hard guys hit. For example, a lot of people think that Chris Algieri doesn't hit hard, but you get whacked in the head by one of his punches, you're gonna see he can knock you out. But when you get to the level where he's at, his power no longer becomes one-punch knockout power, because the guys he's fighting are very tough, which is why they're at that level, and they know how to roll with the punches. They have all these little moves that they can do to take that sting away from the shot, and so it becomes much harder to knock him out. That's why when you have guys like Golovkin, like Stevenson, like Curtis Stevens, guys who can knock you out cold with one shot, those are the guys that have exceptional power. And like you said, something about...
They're the guys that...
Yeah, go ahead.
Karen. No, and they're the guys that can be in trouble, losing a fight, and they can just pull out that one shot.
Exactly.
Turn it around. Where these guys that haven't got that pop, if you're in trouble early on and you're down in the rounds, and you have to go out and chase a fight and go for the KO, you might as well just give up.
Exactly. Because I'll give you an example. When Corey Spinks was the welterweight champion back in 2004. His first defense was against Zab Judah. Now, Zab Judah was coming up from 140. So people were thinking, it's Corey Spinks. He just beat Ricardo Mayorga. He's fighting a guy that's coming up from 140. It's going to be an easy fight. Corey Spinks outboxing for the first 4 rounds, I think. And then Zab Judah made some adjustments. And he started outboxing Corey Spinks. So now Corey Spinks was in a conundrum. He had to come back because the fight was getting close. And he couldn't, what could he do? He was already getting outboxed by Judah at that point, so what was he gonna, he couldn't turn slugger all of a sudden. He wasn't gonna knock Zab Judah out, so power is really the one. Okay, so let me ask you this, student.
Power is an art.
Yeah, it is an art to a certain
It
degree.
requires technique, yeah, so it's, when people just dismiss power as like, oh, he has power, so what? You gotta know how to throw a fucking punch to generate enough power to knock somebody out.
Exactly.
I think that's why the Eastern Europeans hit quite hard. It's a technique thing they've been taught through the early amateur years. It's like it's not like throwing your whole body weight. It's like a twisting movement. And if you look how Eastern Europeans throw their shots, they don't really load up on them, do they? But they're devastating shots. When Golovkin's hitting someone, he's never really loading up, swinging from the heels. They're just crisp punches. The same with a lot of European hitters like Biev and all them and Kovalev. They don't look like they're really throwing bombs, but they're fucking causing a lot of damage. I think it's more of a technique thing, and with boxing, like I said, timing and technique.
I agree.
If Wilder could get his timing and technique sorted out, then that would be a serious weapon.
Yeah, he would be a killer. He's already a killer. But again, we'll see what happens against. If he knocks out Ortiz, I think people have to admit that it's not luck that's getting him through. It's really that he knows how to set that power up. But again, we'll see what happens. But the thing about Russians is, I remember back in the mid-2000s, early 2000s, the Russians that did make their way into the pro ranks, they weren't exactly big hitters. Nowadays, you're starting to see, maybe it's because the best of the crop are finally coming over, all these Eastern Europeans that can punch. And so, maybe, again, like you said, Stu, maybe it is a technique. Puerto Ricans and Mexicans also hit pretty hard for the most part. Again, I'm not generalizing. I'm not painting with brush strokes and saying all Mexicans hit hard, but they are taught to fight because, again, Mexico, there's no real amateur program there. Most people turn professional because they want to eat. They want to earn money in order to eat. So that type of lifestyle translates into the boxing style, which is hurt your opponent because he's trying to hurt you and he's trying to take bread off your table. So it's designed to really increase damage. Same thing with...
I agree. The problem with the Mexican fighters, I mean, a lot of them are starting pro at 15. A lot of Mexicans are starting pro at 15. And that they're having wars and they're like shot to pieces at the age of 30. A lot of them.
It's true. It's
because
true,
they've got
man.
no amateur experience, and they're taking a lot of headshots because there's bread in them. Mexicans, they don't want to be sitting on the back foot, pop shot. That's why it's Vasquez. He was a Mexican, isn't he? Miguel Vasquez.
Yeah.
Well, he had a boring style, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
And
oh yeah.
He's got barely any fans. He's got barely any fans.
But they're little guys, though.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, he's
But
pretty...
little guys don't last, though. It's
It's
divisions where there's a lot of
You're
speed
saying that
involved.
Rigondeaux's 38 years old.
Well,
They do last.
exceptions, I guess.
You
no?
know. No, I
I mean,
mean,
that's an exception.
you could have a guy that's 32 years old that's got, I'd say, 10 fights, or you know, you get a guy that's say 20 years old and had 35 fights. Who's going to be the fresher one? The older guy, isn't it? Sometimes the age doesn't matter if you're not putting yourself in them wars. Wars take age.
No,
off
yeah, I
fighters.
agree.
Not-
I agree with that.
Yeah, obviously fights take the age off them, if you know what I mean. These guys are fit guys like Klitschko, 40 years old, still what a specimen still. Do you know what I mean? So these guys are in good enough nutritionists and good enough shape to keep well at 40 years old. But if you're war torn, it don't matter what nutritionist you got. It don't matter who's in your corner. That's what takes it out of you. Big, hard, grueling fights where you're getting knocked out or you've been dropped 3 or 4 times and you've got broken noses and cheekbones constantly. They're the fights that take it out of you. Not 35 Floyd Mayweather performances. You could go on to your 60 doing that.
True.
That's true. It's about if you're going 12 rounds all the time. Then again, like somebody mentioned in the chat room, but I can't see the message anymore because it already went by. But when Mayweather was fighting at 130, 135, even 140, he was a pretty good puncher. It's just, again, this is part of the problem. When guys start fighting out of their division, for example, recently we had Robert Guerrero. He was fighting at 126, 130, all of a sudden 135, and then he jumps up all the way to 147 because he wanted to get those big money fights. So if you stay at your weight and you're a puncher, you're A-okay. But a lot of these guys are weight jumping, 2, 3 divisions just to get a big money fight, and that's when they start losing a lot of their power.
Adrian Broner.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy was a killer in the lower weight divisions, knocking everyone out, looking devastating, doing it. As soon as he started fighting guys his own size.
Exactly. That's a very good point. And this is the other thing, because of what Abel Sanchez said, a lot of people are spreading that thing about, African American fighters are all slappers, but that's another, come on, we all know that's a generalization, because look at Gervonta Davis. He's a pretty heavy puncher. Errol Spence, Terence Crawford can punch, Robert Easter Jr. can punch. So I mean, let's not make it out to be like they're all taught to slap and not put any power into the shots. If you because like Stu said, if you want to make it to the top of the division, or at least top 10 in any division, you gotta have some pop, and that's why a lot of these guys, every nationality has their weak punchers. Mexicans, Miguel Vasquez, he's not a big puncher.
Is the LDBC calling Spence Jr. a flat-footed boxer?
Obviously not, man. Yeah, or Jarrett Hurd. How come they don't call Jarrett Hurd a caveman? Because he certainly is just looking to weight bully his way to the top. That's Jarrett Hurd is the definition of a weight bully. Come on, I mean, you can't defend what he's doing.
That guy is a super middleweight.
And by the way, I know some people are saying, well, if he can make the weight for the weigh-in, then it's fair game. Is it really fair game though? Come on, the guy. Did you guys see the picture of his stare down against Lara? Stu, did you happen to see that photo of where he's standing next to Lara, or face to face to Lara, I should say?
Gerald Hurd's a big guy.
He's a huge guy, man.
He's got a big head on him, man. So I don't know what he's taking. But I'm not. But he looks like he's got a fucking steroid head on him. But
yes, dude.
Gerald Hurd, Lara. Gerald Hurd is probably a super middleweight.
Mm-hmm.
That's shrinking down. That's my opinion. He's a super middleweight that's shrinking down.
Yeah, he's absolutely shrinking himself down, man. I mean, come on, look at his head. He's 6'1". I mean, the Charlo brothers, they were big for 154, but this guy is on another level, man. And again,
this is the thing. When these guys shrink down,
mm-hmm.
It's an advantage when they're fighting average fighters that they're gonna knock out.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're in a war and some guys hit them back, that's when it takes its toll. When you're losing all that weight, that's when the later rounds, right, from round 9 to 12,
mm-hmm.
when you're losing all that weight, that's when you lose fights. When you're dropping 30, 40. It's all right when you're fighting bums
mm-hmm.
that you can knock out, but it's when you're in a war. That's when Kell Brook was doing very well against Errol Spence. He was doing well.
Right.
But the latter rounds is when Errol Spence took over, and that's because had to lose too much weight, and it told its toll.
Well, I think that it definitely it could have played a part in the late stages of the fight, the Brook thing, because again, Brook looked huge at 160. I mean, he had big ass biceps, shoulder muscles. He had to lose muscle to get down to 147. I mean, the guy had to boil himself down to 147. So I like to give Errol Spence as much credit as I can for that win, but you have to admit that Kell Brook was a little debilitated going into that fight. But again, look, he took the fight, no excuses. You know, he's the one that took the fight. Nobody forced him to do it. So, but again, yeah, that weight bullying, man. I don't know how these guys can live with themselves, because I mean, Jared Hurd, he's not really winning. Again, in his last fight against Trout, he was eating, and I know Trout is not a huge puncher, but Hurd was just walking through those shots and eating them up like they were candy from a Pez dispenser. It's not fair, man. And I know he can make the weight on the day of the weigh-in, but all the money is at 160. So why don't he just say, screw this, screw boiling myself down to 154, and he just move up to 160? Maybe it's because he knows he doesn't have the skills to compete with those guys. I don't know.
But it's a bit of a farce, this weigh-in thing. I mean, how Danny Jacobs was allowed to come in as a cruiserweight against Golovkin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's shocking right there. I mean, there has to be. I know the IBF have got a good rule where you can only be 10 pounds over, which I think is a very good law, because a lot of these fighters are coming in huge. I mean, Golovkin was dealing with a cruiserweight that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this on the show about whether maybe it would be a good idea to go back to same-day weigh-ins, because that way the fighter...
It's too dangerous, though. It's just too dangerous, bro.
Yeah, but you know what? It's dangerous if they keep dehydrating. If they decide, you know what, this is too dangerous, I'm gonna go to the division where I'm comfortable at. That way I don't have to dehydrate myself the day of the fight. Then most people would be fighting at the way that they're supposed to. But this extra day they have to dehydrate and then hydrate for the fight, that's what making this, this is the excuse for them that they have to dehydrate the day of the weigh-in. If you held the weigh-ins on the day of the fight, I guarantee you people would be changing divisions left and right, because they would say, screw it, I don't have an extra day to hydrate, I'm gonna go to the division where I'm supposed to be fighting at. And I think that would be a better decision. But again, it's never gonna happen though, because like you said, it's still dangerous, even if they don't dehydrate themselves too much. It's still, you know, most guys are gonna try it either way. So I wouldn't suggest they do it, but it would be nice to see guys fighting in the division they're supposed to. And you got to remember, MMA I don't know why in MMA it's different, but it's even worse over there. Some guys lose 20, 25 pounds the day before the fight. I mean, not the day before the fight, but for the day before the fight, the weigh-in. They lose 20, 25 pounds, and then they come back the day of the fight, and they look completely different. Oh, shredded and fucking muscular. I mean, I don't know why, but in the UFC,
especially the Brazilians.
Oh yeah,
especially
well,
the Brazilians.
well, you know, they have different pharmaceuticals over there, I think. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, they... I mean, remember Vitor Belfort when he was on testosterone replacement therapy?
Vitor Belfort is the one I was thinking at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he is a drug cheat. I mean, let's be real. I mean, this is and it keeps him in Brazil because he keeps fouling Nevada testing when he's in America.
Exactly.
So all his fights are in Brazil because he keeps fouling it. It's true.
Well, you know what? I always like to, every time we bring up Vitor Belfort, I always like to put a picture of him from 2012 when he was on testosterone replacement, and then 2017 when he was off it. And I don't know if you guys can see it on the screen. I just put up a picture, but man, that's what testosterone replacement will do to you. Let me tell you something, Stu. I don't know about you, but and I've said it before, if my body starts breaking down, I'm jumping on that testosterone, man. I know it's dangerous. I know we don't know the long-term effects, even if it's controlled. But man, if it makes you look like that, if it makes you look like Superman, and you only have to do half the work, hey, sign me up, man. Sign me up. You know what? If I ever get on testosterone replacement, I'm gonna turn on the webcam for every chat. And I'm not even gonna show my face. The camera's just gonna show my upper body. That's all it's gonna show. And I'm gonna be flexing the whole show, you know? That's what it's gonna be. BDA show. Just BDA flexing on testosterone. I mean, that would be a great show, man.
Hey, forget looking like Vitor Belfort. I'd be happy looking like Cyborg Sanchez.
Yeah, man. She's fighting tonight, I believe. Yeah. Mr. Coxey in the chat room.
Fine tonight.
Yeah, Mr. Coxey in the chat room is saying Cyborg from the UFC said when she was cutting weight she was that weak that they couldn't draw blood from her. Jeez Louise.
I mean, I'm not even sure if that's a female, bro.
If that's a what? Oh yeah. Well, that's been the joke so far that she... I mean, and then it looks like she
female.
had... Yeah, but it also looks like she had plastic surgery. So not only does she look muscular, but her face is all stretched out. I mean, she doesn't look, not like you said, not only does she not look female, but she doesn't really look human.
She looks like, you know, China from the WWE. She looks like her gran. That's what she looks.
Yeah, she does look like China's grandmother. Let's hope she doesn't end up... Let's hope she doesn't end up like her, man, because... I mean, come on, really test Cyborg, really get down to it and see what she has in her system, because I guarantee you she's not clean.
I don't think Nunes as well.
Mm-hmm. Precise Puncher is in the chat room. Shout out to Precise. He says, I hope Kell Brook does his thing. He has the skill to beat Jermaine. I think he's talking about the Charlo. On the Jermall, I should say. I always get him confused. Jermall is the one that's at middleweight, I believe, and Jermell is the one at 154. Stu, do you think Kell Brook can compete at 154 against these giants like Hurd and Charlo?
Did Precise say that he don't think Brook can beat them?
No, I think he said he can beat them.
Oh, I'm convinced he can beat the Charlos.
Really?
Yeah, I think... Listen, I know Rabchenko's... Let's not get too carried away.
Right.
But he looked at his perfect weight. The way he was strong, he did. You know, he was really slow and sloppy against Spence. He just looked lethargic. It was just a lethargic performance. His timing was actually getting him ahead on the cards for me until he started... Well, until his cheekbone went, and then he started getting dominated. But it was a lethargic performance. This was really sharp. He was putting his punches together, looking strong. He took a couple of shots, looked okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, what would the Charlos be?
Well, but
I mean,
it's not about who they've beaten. It's the fact that they're fast, they have skills, and they're big.
Charlo
And they're
fans
big.
claim that they have enough wins. You know, it's against tough opponents.
Okay, but forget the Charlo fans. I'm saying
who does?
the Charlo fans.
Julian Williams, Austin Trout.
Okay, but Bucho, forget about who he's.
Pondridge.
Bucho, forget about who he's beaten.
Yeah,
Can't we agree that he's
they're
big
fine,
and
all
fast?
right. I mean, J. Rock Williams. I mean, the guy's got a chin of paper mache.
Oh yeah, he was throwing punches like a
know-
wild man. He made a huge mistake
Yeah.
when he was exchanging. He got caught, and the guy was considered a prospect. What's a prospect? Somebody that's unproven, but there's possibly there's some hope that he's gonna become a star. But still, he's unproven. So when people name Julian Williams as a big win for Charlo, come on, you're exaggerating. He was a prospect. That's it.
Yeah, and let's be real, Austin Trout's been past his best for many moves.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, let's look the Charlo.
And
If you look at the fight,
struggled. He struggled against
yeah, if you
Trout.
forget about
It wasn't a pretty
if you
fight.
forget about the opponent, if you forget about the opponents and just look what he does, then they are quite fundamentally solid. They do everything quite well. They're nothing special, but they do everything quite well, and they are quite dangerous fighters. But let's not get carried away here. I mean, they were talking about destroying Billy Joe Saunders the other day. I mean, I'm not sure about that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either, man. Come on, Billy Joe Saunders. Let's see. Well, look, listen. First of all, Bucho, I want to get something straight here because you're criticizing one of the Charlo that beat Trout and saying, oh, he looked bad against him. But did he really look all that worse? I mean, much worse than Canelo did against Trout?
Oh, and by the way, Charlo Jermel, the one at 154, his height, it says on BoxRec, is 5'11".
Nah, he looks
and
taller
somebody
than
said that they're the same height as Kell Brook, but that's not true. Kell Brook is 5'9".
Exactly, yeah.
And then the other Charlo, Jermal Charlo, the
let's
one at
not
middleweight right now, he's 6 foot tall. So
Yeah, let's not compare the fights either. I mean, Canelo fought Austin Trout that just beat Miguel Cotto, world champion. I mean,
yeah, that's
that
true.
was
That's
a
true.
different Trout to the one Charlo beat.
That's a good point. But
So-
yeah, but it's still a good win from the Charlos. And my point was that against Kell Brook, it's not so much who the Charlos have beaten. Forget about that. Although they have beaten, good up like Marty Riosen, Rosado. At least they've proven that they're superior to those guys. But that's not the problem. The problem is they should be fighting 2 weight classes above what they're fighting at right now. And Kell Brook is not a tall guy. In my mind, well, not in my mind. I mean, I think it's a fact that Kell Brook is a pretty skilled fighter, but he's going to be taking on guys that are way bigger than him, that have fast hands, that hit very hard, and he's going to be taking on those guys. I don't think it's a 50-50 fight. I don't think it's that much of a competitive fight if Kell Brook gets stacked by those guys. I mean, come on, let's be real. Kell Brook was getting overpowered by Errol Spence, and I know Errol Spence is a strong welterweight, and the Charlos don't fight like him, but I don't know. I'm worried about Kell Brook in that fight because I think he's too small for those guys.
And let's be real, he held his own with Golovkin for a while, didn't he?
That's
You
true.
know,
That's true.
Golovkin's a lot better fighter than Charlo.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real. That 147 fighter you saw against, I mean, Kell Brook sold his career out that night. Eddie Hearn and Kell Brook sold their career out when they signed on the dotted line to fight Golovkin, because that guy had to put serious amounts of muscle to hit 160.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody knows anything about nutrition, about boxing, you put on a load of muscle and then have to take it off again, you will never be the same man. Roy Jones Jr. is a prime example of that. He put on 2 stone of muscle to fight Ruiz. Never the same guy after that. It takes a lot out of you. So for him to put all that muscle on, then take it all off again to fight a monster, to fight a monster like Errol Spence, who keeps coming at you, just strong, big guy himself. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why Kell Brook lost that fight. Don't get it wrong, Errol Spence was very good on the night, but let's not pretend here. Early on in that fight, he was getting outboxed. And it's the fact that Kell Brook just ran out of steam. I mean, when you haven't got any energy left in you, I mean, when you're taking 7 pounds off, like he said, that 7 pounds extra has made him feel a new man. When you haven't got that 7 pounds to lose and you're losing it, it takes a lot out of you. And this is what loses a lot of fighters fights. Like I said before, and he sold his career out down the line. He should never have took the Golovkin fight. He should have just took the Spence fight straight away while he was still comfortable at that weight, but instead he blows up to probably 170 pounds on the night against Golovkin, and then he's having to take it down to 147 to fight a guy like Spence.
Precise Puncher is telling you in the chat that Kell Brook is not dead yet.
He's not what?
He's saying that
Kell Brook is still alive.
He's saying that Kell Brook is still alive. That he's not dead yet. He's not dead yet.
No, he's a live contender. He really is. But he damaged his career taking that Golovkin fight. That's just my opinion.
Well, look, people in the chat room are saying Akuma's Deception says Kell Brook is not tall, but he's a stocky guy. Michael Stock says he drains himself badly to make 147. He has for years. I think he's talking about Spence there. But I think you guys and the people in the chat room as well, I think you're convincing me about Kell Brook. Maybe he can compete against those guys, against the giants like Charlo and Hurd. Maybe I'm being a bit of an alarmist. And second of all, I haven't even seen the Rabchenko fight, so I haven't seen how big he looks at 154. Maybe it's more the height. Yeah, go ahead.
He looks strong.
He looks strong.
Let's be real. We've never seen Charlo get hit by a decent puncher clean on the button yet. No, some of that goes down to him. Credit to him. But a lot of the fights where we've been hoping to see a good fight, the opponents are. So we've never really seen him tested on the chin yet. Kell Brook's going to test him. He's an accurate puncher. He throws a lot of combinations. Kell Brook is going to punch you in the face, and he's going to connect often. Ask Golovkin. So it's how Charlo reacts to being punched back. It's like Bruce Lee said, Wood don't fight back when O'Hara was fucking chopping the planks of Wood. He said they don't hit back, and it's true. If no one's hitting you back, then you are going to look good, aren't you? That's right.
The Chinese have a good saying also. It's like if it's 10 Chinese people against a dog, the dog's gonna end up being eaten. I think that's a saying they have over in China. And you know what? You're right. Maybe Kell Brook does have a chance, man. Because again, how much? Let me ask you this: how much does he weigh normally, Kell Brook, when he's not fighting? At what weight does he walk around?
That's a good question.
I think he looks like he's a solid 170 pounds, maybe.
Yeah, Kell Brook. Pretty muscular.
He's pretty muscular. I think he weighs 100.
Yeah. It depends, because if he stays in shape with this new training regime he's got with Billy Joe and all them, then he's going to be walking around probably at 170. But I think he was blowing up to 180 at times. When he was a welterweight. I mean, you just can't do that. Ricky Hatton, look, another one that used to do it. It's not good for you.
Well, people in the chat room are saying that Kell Brook weighs around 170. Some people are saying Precise Puncher saying he thinks 180. Akumu Deception says 170, between 170 and 180. Michael Stock, Shepherd of Sons, and Mr. Coxey, they all say 170. So, yeah. And by the way, Tubes in the chat room, Tubes is saying that Kell Brook looks like Nassim Hamed's son during the off season. That Nassim Hamed, man, I saw him during that last British telecast. What happened to that guy, man? Here's something. If you are 5'3" or 5'4", whatever, the last thing you want to do is get fat, because it's just not gonna look good. A tall guy can look fat. People look at that and go, okay, that the fat is proportional, right? But if you're 5'3", 5'4", do not get fat. Ricky Hatton, exactly, like Kaiser Kobe says. Hatton is another example.
It doesn't look good on. It doesn't look good on short people. I mean, exactly. He looks like the Asian. He looks like the Asian Danny DeVito, doesn't he? You know what I mean?
No, he looks like. Remember the movie Spawn?
Oh yeah.
The clown. He looks like that fucking short, fat clown.
Yeah, he does look that. What was his name?
Fuck. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, but he looks like what's his name? John Leguizamo played him.
You'd think he'd get a fucking tailor, get a decent suit. He's a millionaire. That suit was horrendous.
Exactly. It's I don't know what he's going through. Like people are saying, he's the prince. He can do whatever he wants. Pavel says Hatton looks like a goblin when he's fat. Oh man, people in the chat room are brutal, man. Precise Punch says Hamed looks.
Ricky Hatton, he looks like someone from. He looks like someone from Lord of the Rings when.
From who?
You know, he's just. He looks like someone from Lord of the Rings when he's out of shape, man.
Lord of the Rings.
He's tiny and he just. When they're small, it looks worse. I mean, a tall guy can get away with a bit of fat, but when you're like 5'4" and 5'6", and you're like fucking 5'6" wide, it don't look very good, does it?
No, man, and that's the thing. I saw a photograph of Naseem Hamed, obviously the fat version, walking alongside his wife. First of all, his wife, I think, is taller than him. She's thin. Meanwhile, she's walking around with this short, fat guy. Now listen, I know it's not fair, but it's the truth. Women prefer a guy that's taller than them. So not only is she going out with a short guy, she's going out with a short, fat guy. And yes, he has a lot of money. Yes, he has the
Yeah,
Naseem.
but to be fair, I'm
Yeah.
going to interrupt here, because to be fair, I'm a Prince Naseem Hamed fan for years. That girl has been with him since he was at school.
Okay, yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's like if you're going out with your, I don't know if you're married or if you have a girlfriend, but let's say you've met, whether you've known your girlfriend or your wife since you were in high school, if she got fat all of a sudden, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't stand for that.
Like, how many times do you see a woman with a repulsive man?
That's a good
You
point.
see it all the time, don't you? And
Yeah.
you think to yourself, how does this happen? But some women just hang around, don't they? I don't know what, I haven't got the answers, but there's plenty out there, plenty of men that are punching well above their weight, isn't there?
Yeah, but do you think she'd be hanging around if he didn't have that Prince Naseem Hamed money?
Well, yeah, I don't know, like, she probably would have dumped him. It helps when he's got a few million quid in the bank, doesn't it?
Right. By the way, I was rewatching the Nigel Benn versus Chris Eubank, that little show they did when they have to go to gladiator school.
I watched that live.
Was that?
I watched that live.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
said
yeah.
I watched it live.
Oh, okay. And let me ask you something. You're from the UK. Do these guys hate each other, or is it just healthy competition?
With an absolute passion.
Really?
Nigel Benn cried his eyes. When that fight got stopped, Nigel Benn cried his eyes out, begged the referee not to stop it. He couldn't get his head round the idea, man, because they were just total opposite. Chris Eubank was the posh English man, and Chris Eubank was the army soldier, the rough guy, the brawler that all the Brits. Nigel Benn was the guy everyone loved, and Eubank was the guy everyone loved to hate. Eubank got a bigger name as the years went on, when he started to lose. It's funny how when fighters start to lose, they start to get more credit off the fans. I mean, boxing fans are a stupid bunch, aren't we? But that's how it happened with you. Me, I was Ben. I just thought he was a better boxer. I preferred the boxing. But I think Ben was the people's champion, and they fucking hated each other. So yeah, it's not fake. Everything you see was from the heart with that one, I'm afraid.
But why was that fight more personal? Because as far as I know, Nigel Benn didn't have that rivalry against everybody else he fought, did he?
Well, Nigel Benn was a nasty character. Nigel Benn smashed an ashtray in someone's face and put about 70 stitches in it.
Pseush.
Just for, yeah, he was a nasty man. This is a guy who was in the army, and he's known as being a bit of a bully. You wouldn't want to fucking upset him. Just put it that way. You wouldn't want to upset Nigel Benn and put him in the mood, so he's coming after you. And so he was a fiery character anyway. Where Eubank Senior, was calm and collective. He hated boxing. He said boxing's a mugs game. That's what Eubank said. That's all he knew how to do. So he was and he used to. Why? Ben just thought I was fake, and they started trading insults. And back then, they used to put them on main TV. Like, you only had 4 or 5 channels back then in England, so they'd put them on one of the main channels, and that'd be prime time. Then, I think actually the fight being signed was live on TV. It was live on a chat show, and they had to be split up a few times. Let's put it that way. And 20 million people in this country watch that fight, and this country has 65 million people at the moment. At the time, probably 60 million, and 20 million people watch that fight.
It's insane, man. That is absolutely insane. Now, what was the name of that other British fighter?
Isn't it?
What was the name of that other British fighter that was around at the time?
Michael Watson.
Is he the one that none of them wanted to fight? He was a slick one, right?
Michael Watson.
Yeah, okay, that was him. Yeah, did they really avoid him, or was it?
Michael Watson. No, they fought Michael Watson. They fought Michael Watson. Michael Watson got hurt, didn't he, in a fight against Chris Eubank? Did you know about that?
Oh yeah. He's the one that suffered brain damage or something, right? He's the one that suffered. Yeah.
He beat Nigel Benn. Watson did.
Okay.
He beat Nigel Benn, and he got a draw against Eubank that he clearly won. And in the rematch, he was dominating Eubank, knocked Eubank out in the 11th round. Eubank got up, he chased the fight and to stop the fight, and he got caught with an uppercut, and his head bounced off the ropes.
Jeez.
I just need to plug my laptop in, guys. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. People were saying in the chat room that Michael Watson is the people's champ, but then didn't they avoid? And I just remember his name because I was looking it up. Didn't they avoid Harold Graham as well? I mean, I know Harold Graham was before those guys' time, and maybe by the time they were fighting, he was done. But I think Harold Graham was with the Ingle. He was part of the Ingle gym faction. Now, that's why he had that weird style. But I'm looking at his record, and I got the timelines mixed up. He fought mostly before Eubank and Nigel Benn, unless I'm mistaken. If I'm mistaken, people let me know in the chat room, because I was under the impression that Harold Graham had been avoided by those guys. Like, they didn't want to fight Harold Graham. And then again, in that ringside show that they did a couple of years ago, where they had Steve Collins, Roy Jones, Chris Eubank, who else was it? Richie Woodall, and I think Joe Calzaghe. And they were talking about, you didn't fight this guy, you didn't fight that, and Steve Collins, he was getting a little heat from Chris Eubank for not fighting Joe Calzaghe. So, that's the thing about boxing. There's always somebody new that comes through, and people say, oh, why didn't you fight him? Why didn't you fight him? You can't fight everybody. You can try, and as boxing fans, we're going to respect you all that more. But there's always going to be one guy that you can't fight. And maybe Joe Calzaghe got that against Steve Collins. Harold Graham, who, by the way, also Harold Graham, he got knocked out brutally by Julian Jackson. And because of that, I think he had a little bit of a depression that he went through. Nigel Benn also, he went through a little bit of a mental catharsis after his fight against Gerald McClellan, and that's why he became a born-again Christian. So you don't escape boxing without any scars. Sometimes the scars can be physical, sometimes the scars can be mental, spiritual as well. So it's a tough sport, man. It's a very tough sport. That's why we gotta cool it a little bit before we start criticizing fighters. Although I will say that I'm going to criticize Luis Neri, no matter what, because come on, it's 2 strikes, man. He's got 2 strikes on him. He's got the fact that he didn't make the weight, and before that he got caught with a diuretic. So come on. I mean, walk a mile in my shoes and then tell me what you think. But in this case, we've already walked in his shoes 2 times. How many more chances are we going to give him? You tell me. People in the chat room are saying, Joe Calzaghe says, German person says, I don't know why, but I'm really curious what they carry around in those purses. Kaiser Kobe says, Collins retired rather than to fight Calzaghe. Eubank was well past it. He stepped in to take the beating in his place. Michael Stocks says, Steve Collins signed to fight Calzaghe but had to retire on medical grounds. Yeah, that's what he said in the show. He said he had a doctor told him not to fight, but I don't remember if he ever... I guess he doesn't feel the need to show that there were medical records saying that. But then again, he could have paid the doctor. Again, I'm going conspiracy mode here. He could have paid the doctor, say, hey, listen, man, I don't want to fight this guy. Just make something up and say that I'm hurt. So when people go to get medicinal marijuana and they just say, oh, I'm having anxiety, I can't focus, blah, blah, blah. All right, here's some weed. All right, perfect. Thanks, doc. Aaron Kuko, shout out to Aaron, says the underrated era of middleweights. For sure, man. And it's a shame also that Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn never got together with James Toney. Nigel Benn, James Toney would have been a great fight. That would have been a great fight. But then again, Chris Eubank admitted in that show, and again, I have to rewatch it, but I think maybe, I don't know if I'm mistaken, but he said he would have never fought James Toney because it would have been suicide. So in other words, Chris Eubank was sort of admitting that he was a level below James Toney. But I gotta tell you,
Chris Eubank would have fought James.
You think he? But because I'm saying in a show that they did, where where there was Joe Calzaghe, Steve Collins, Richie Woodall, Roy Jones, they were all together. Chris Eubank, they were all together on a table. I think it was for ringside, and I think in that show Chris Eubank admitted that he wouldn't have been able to beat James Toney. Now I know there's a Yeah, go ahead. What?
Saying it, believe. It's always sad down the road when you're an old man. When it's made.
Yo, Stuart.
To win.
How come there's two? How come there's Bucho? How come there's two Stuarts in the Google Hangout? Is that a?
Yeah, that's.
I don't know.
I don't know how it is.
I think that's a bug.
Hang on. Let me.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I think it's just a bug. Yeah, it's disappeared now. I think it was just a bug or something. Tube says that Eubank Sr.'s WBO run was a bit weak. Darth Vader says, what is the topic? Well, we were talking about the super middleweights from the 90s, particularly the British ones. But you know what? Let's talk about the light heavyweights, because we have Kovalev fighting tonight. And the guy he's fighting, again, perhaps not the most well-known guy out there, perhaps not the most dangerous, but I've watched two of his fights in the run-up to this one, and he looks solid, man. He's got good hand speed, he has good poise, he's a southpaw, he's tall. But then again, if you want to beat Sergey Kovalev, you need a little bit more than just a little speed and some skill. Stu, are you looking forward to that fight? Or are you? I guess I gotta ask. I guess I have to ask the question a different way. Are you looking more forward to the Bivol fight than you are to Sergey Kovalev's fight?
Listen, who's Kovalev fighting anyways?
Like
of course, Bivol against Barrera is a way better fight.
Yeah, you
more
think so?
More interesting fight. There's a lot of questions about Bivol, how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good opponent for Bivol to show how great he is.
Mm-hmm.
If indeed he is great. Man, I think, you know what, Bivol's going to put on a statement tonight. And I think he's going to stop Barrera.
Whoa. So you think this is coming out party?
Oh, absolutely, man. And HBO is going to be fucking happy because, man, they need some superstar boxers, no?
Yeah.
They're kind of in trouble.
But now let me ask you this, Bucho. Why are people, in general, from what I'm been reading on the chat and in the message boards and the people that we've had here, or panelists, they seem to be more inclined to like Bivol. Like, they have higher hopes for Bivol than they have for Alexander Gvozdyk, who so far has beaten better opposition. Is it because so far he's knocked out people in impressive fashion, Bivol that is? Or is it because people have seen Bivol more than Gvozdyk, who's fought more often in pay-per-view undercards?
I guess knockouts, the way Bivol has been winning is kind of impressive. But yeah, who has he fought? You know? That's true. He hasn't fought better opponents then. But we'll see, man. This is a very good fight. I mean, Barrera is a very good opponent, so if he manages to knock him out, there's no doubt that this guy is the one to watch.
Yeah, you're right. And let's go to the chat room and see what people are saying about that, because while I was listening to what you were saying, people are saying, Darth Vader, for example, says, I like Vivol's style more. Pavel says, Bivol is heavily promoted by HBO. Jahobi says, and by the way, what Pavel just said is true. Remember how much, but you didn't see the fight last week, but HBO was all over Bivol last week, so I really think they're pushing him more than they are. By the way, Gvozdyk, I think, is with Top Rank, so I think maybe that's why HBO is no longer talking about him. Pavel says Bivol is heavy. Okay, Jahobi says Bivol is promoted much more. Again, reiterating what Pavel says. Foul Pole Boxing says Bivol looks more calculated. Michael Stock says Gvozdyk is a very entertaining fighter. I love his style. Darth Vader says that Bivol is more calculated and has better fundamentals. Tube says Beterbiev said he's already signed for Top Rank. Now that's been denied. Okay, so who knows what's going on there. Shepherd of Sun says Gvozdyk has been dropped heavy before. People question his chin. Bucho, you're saying that Bivol is being... Yeah, you think it's his coming out party. If he wins, is the plan by HBO to match him against Kovalev?
I would think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, there's nobody else. What other options do we have, or do they have? HBO, I'm talking about.
So even if he doesn't knock out Barrera, let's say it's a close decision win, do they still put him in there against Kovalev?
Yeah, of course. Always, it's imagine Bivol against Barrera is an amazing fight, then they can have a rematch, I guess, but I don't think so.
Yeah, but there's probably going to be a rematch there. I mean, HBO right now, it's amazing. Listen, let's give Showtime and the PBC a little bit of credit. They've been kicking ass this past... minimum the past year. I mean, they really got the better of HBO in 2017.
Well, they have more fighters.
Right, which is what they should have done soon, right?
So, of course they're going to do better.
Mm-hmm.
But even with the amount of fighters that the PBC has, they could have done way better matches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. They could have done a lot better. Although now at least this tonight's card is pretty good. Wilder-Ortiz and then Direll-Uzcategui. But going back to Kovalev is what, 33, 34, maybe 35, somewhere along that age. Bucho?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so he's, because I was really asking how old he is.
Oh, okay. I thought it was rhetorical. Okay.
Did you say rhetorical or retarded question?
No, not rhetorical. But I thought you were asking yourself. Yeah.
Okay. No. Yeah, I'm really asking. So he's 34. The time is starting to get a little, short for him too. Come on, let's face it. Yeah, 35, 36, you can get old overnight. Or that's about the age where you can get. Shepherd of Sun says 35. Okay, so 35 years old. There's all these guys, new guys in the division. You got Bivol, you got Gvozdyk, Beterbiev. I think Beterbiev isn't as young as I assume him to be. Hold on, let me check real quick. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at is his time may be up. Do you think he needs to make a statement tonight, just like he did in his last fight, to reassert his dominance and fans' faith in him tonight?
Of course, especially if he's fighting a guy nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
The least he could do is knock him out in impressive fashion.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this, Bucho. How old do you think Beterbiev is?
I think I know the age. I think he's 34, no?
Close. 33.
Okay.
So think about it. In 2 years, which isn't a long time, 2 years goes by like this. That was me snapping my fingers to signify how fast time goes. Time goes by pretty fast, man. So Beterbiev isn't a young guy. I mean, he's 1 year or 2 years old younger than Kovalev. Meanwhile, Alexander Gvozdyk, how old do you think he is?
31?
30.
Huh.
So again, these guys, they're all minimum, they're in their 30s. Now let's look at Bivol. And people already know how old he is because they've been looking at him pretty close. He's 27. So I'm starting to understand now why there's more of a hope on Bivol than there is on Gvozdyk or Beterbiev. Michael Stock says, did anyone lose the feed? What feed is he talking about? I hope he's not talking about this podcast.
No, I see it.
Okay. Or maybe he's talking about the sound. Is it possible he's talking about the sound? By the way, we have 3 stews in the hangout now.
What the hell's going on?
What is going on? What is going on, man?
Are you cloning yourself?
He's cloning himself, man.
I keep resetting it, coming back on.
All right, you know what? Don't worry about it. It makes it look. Can
you remove yourself?
What's that?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Can you remove them yourself?
Oh no,
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I was just pointing out how this never happened before. But Stu, I gotta ask you, we're talking about the light heavyweight division, and are you as high as most people seem to be on Bivol as well, or do you want to see more of him before you make a decision? All right, Stu, are you still there? Calling Stu.
Which Stu?
Well,
There's
I think
two.
the main Stu left. You know what? This is what it feels like when you're a boxer and you get hit in the face and you see three of one guy. Pavel says Stu is connecting from parallel dimensions. By the way, Bucho, I was watching there's a channel which is verified, by the way, on YouTube, and it's about how to jump, like exercises, how to jump from one parallel dimension to the other, or to peek into parallel dimension so that you can see what the you in the other dimension is doing. And it's a whole, this channel is verified, and they talk about God and the mystic this and the mystic that. I'm thinking, geez, it's really fascinating. You can really find anything on YouTube, and not only can you find anything on YouTube, you can make a successful channel out of it. I mean, this is really amazing, man.
How do you jump from one dimension to another?
I don't know. I didn't see the whole video. I didn't really have the time back then. It was a couple of days ago to sit around and watch it, because they have a ton of videos, and I'm thinking, wow, we'll put that to the side for now. But yeah, man, there's a market for everything there. And then there's this other guy. His name is Mazar.
No, sorry. I'm looking at on YouTube, and I see on the suggested videos. This video by Dante's Boxing Nation. It says racism in boxing, and in the thumbnail you see Jim Lampley.
Is that all these people?
Jim Lampley's a racist. Yeah, this guy's sucking on fucking Andre Ward's cock, man, so much.
Is this all they talk about? Like I said, think about it.
That's how they get their subscribers and viewers, just talking about race.
Okay, but think about it, Bucho.
They're not boxing fans. Fuck.
Bucho, think about
pay-per-views.
Bucho, think about it. Think about it. These people, that's all they talk about. Let them talk about it in their own little corner. Let's stop mentioning them. Can we start doing that, man?
It's in my suggested videos. What the fuck, man?
Okay, but can we stop talking about these freaking people? Listen, again, I'll reiterate what I said. They're talking about what Abel Sanchez did as if he fucked a puppy or something. Meanwhile, they're not talking about Luis Neri. All right, they're not
they
talking.
They don't know anything. No, they're not talking about the World Boxing Super Series either.
Exactly. So that lets you know.
They didn't even cover the semi-final fights.
That lets you know all you need to know about.
Yeah.
If the real boxing.
But it's funny how they call themselves hardcore boxing fans, the new media. Yeah, imagine these fuckers being the commentators in an HBO, ESPN, whatever fight.
Now listen, can we stop talking? Can we do that? Can we make a rule where we stop talking about these guys?
Yes.
Can we do that? Butcher, let me tell you something else.
Your fear of capture and imprisonment is an implant from millions of years ago.
That's right. So you gotta keep that in mind. All right? Your fear of dominance and imprisonment is an implant from millions of years ago. All right?
Oh, you know that video I made about concerning the Abel Sanchez comments?
Right.
Somebody writes, somebody hates black dominance.
Oh, I'm telling you, they're one-trick ponies. Let's stop talking about them, man. One-trick ponies. Let them live in their own deluded world with their deluded selves and their deluded egos. Now let's move on. Let's talk about the important things. And speaking of important things, what? Somebody's sending. Hold on a second. Yeah, Brooke. Shout out to Rod T. Davies, who's saying, wow, Brook looked fantastic, guys. So pleased for him. It's a good thing he finally got a win, this Brook. But yeah, Tubes is saying that there's 4 Stewarts on the line. Oh, and speaking of on the line, we have Precise Puncher on the line. Precise, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Can you hear us?
Uh-huh.
Perfect. First of all, thank you for joining us again, as always. I don't know, we were talking about the light heavyweights, but I saw your video about Wilder. And let me tell you something. When I saw how much he weighed in at, I was like, all right, 214. Maybe he's going for speed or whatever. But then I saw your video, and I learned that he was weighing about 222, 223 in his last past fight. So that means he must have lost 8 pounds of muscle. Because remember, these guys are not dehydrating themselves at heavyweight. That means he lost actual muscle. What the hell's going on here?
I mean, to me, it really looks like he's, doing VADA testing, and it's taken its toll, because it looks like, well, if we are to believe the scales, obviously, and, some heavyweights actually, I haven't quite figured it out, but I know for a fact that some heavyweights do actually make weight. I don't know why exactly, but I have some theories on that. But if we are to believe that is his in-ring weight, he's been steadily and gradually, he dropped about 15 pounds of muscle in the last couple of years, which is very significant,
Now, you said in your video that this threw you out for a loop, because prior to all this, you were saying that this wasn't a real fight. And then the whole thing...
Exactly.
The whole thing with Ortiz and the bump in his hand, which I'm still not convinced is something insignificant. I'm pretty sure there's something weird going on there. And now Wilder shows up weighing 214. I mean, is any of this making you rethink your pick for the fight, or are you still sticking to that pick?
No, it did not make me. I mean, it made me rethink it for damn sure, but I did not change my pick, no.
All right, well, that's good to know then. And by the way, I want to get into something here, because I was saying that I was worried about Kell Brook fighting guys like Jarrett Hurd and Jermell Charlo, because they are big guys. And say what you want about their opposition, but at least the Charlo brother, who's at 154, he's got fast hands and power. And you seem to think that Kell Brook would beat him. I'm curious, do you think he beats him by decision, or you think he schools him, or you think it's a close fight?
Look, we have to see more from Brook. He looked like the old Brook over the course of, not even 2 rounds. We really need to see him go some rounds against, not a killer, right?
Right.
But we really want to see Brook over the distance, or at least 8 rounds or so. But, Kell Brook is a very talented guy. He throws every punch in the book. He's got speed, reflexes. He's got very good punching power. He's got everything, just about. Except his left hand his lead hand is very primitive. He needs to develop his left hand, and if he's able to do that, which I don't know if it's possible at this age anymore, but if he's able to really develop his left hand, he'll beat anybody at 154.
That's a good point, man.
His lead hand, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point. His lead hand has a lot, it leaves a lot to be desired. It's really his right hand you gotta watch out for. How old is he, by the way, Kell Brook?
I don't know, is he like 31, 32?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think if he works on that left hand, obviously he's not gonna turn into Felix Trinidad all of a sudden, but like you said, just adding a couple of more, just working on it, might make a big difference.
Yeah, the thing that I was noticing, look, the power punches are all there. There's no, whether it's a counter or a lead, the power punches are all there. What I was more referring to is him using, setting up his jab, right, with feints, probes, and learning how to control his opponents, because even though he looked good, I didn't think he needed to be getting hit with Rabchenko's jabs, and he caught a few jabs, and it doesn't look like anything, nothing happened, he won the fight, blah blah blah. I know I'm nitpicking, but he shouldn't be getting hit with jabs from that guy. He has all the advantages, maybe not height, maybe not reach necessarily, but he has all the advantages over this guy. He should not be taking a jab from this, C class, maybe B class opponent.
That being said, then, if he's fighting the Charlos, and again, I got no clue if one of those Charlo brothers has a height and reach advantage over him, that could cause big problems, because if he's fighting a taller, bigger guy with a bigger reach, and he doesn't develop that lead left hand, like you said, it could spell major problems for him.
Yeah, as things stand right now, we really still don't know about Kell Brook. And look, just about every advantage or disadvantage can be turned into an advantage. So it's really about tactics, and it's a valid point, don't get me wrong, but he could do things to nullify whatever disadvantages he will have at 154. and, you know, use the advantages that he does possess.
Mhm.
But that lead hand is really, to me, you know, every time he throws his jab, and mechanically, it's a beautiful jab. Don't get me wrong. It's strong, it's powerful, straight to the target. You know, it's a great counter or a lead. But he doesn't set the jab up with anything. He uses the jab to set up the power punches. But complete fighters, you know, top elite fighters set up the jab also. And he doesn't really, he feints just a little bit, but he doesn't really set his jab up. And I think if he learns how to fencing, I'm talking about a lot of Eastern European fighters do this. They fence with the lead hand, and it doesn't look like anything, and people don't get it, but it's something that Vladimir Klitschko made a fucking career out of, right? That lead hand, and not too many people understood it, which is also why they lost to him. But if Brook can really develop that lead hand, he'll beat just about anybody at 154, in my opinion.
I have to agree with you there, man. I mean, everything you said was on point. Get that left hand straightened out, man, and throw some lead left hooks too. I mean, really, you look at the difference between him and Canelo when Canelo fought Triple G. I think Canelo, yeah, he's bigger than Kell Brook. Although Kell Brook didn't really look all that small compared to Golovkin. And Kell Brook was able to land some big shots on Triple G. But the difference was, first of all, Canelo has better defense than Kell Brook. Better upper body movement, and he has the benefit of that lead left hand. He knew how to put an obstacle in front of Golovkin, so that Golovkin couldn't just come in whenever he wanted. So Kell Brook, if he developed that left hand, absolutely he would definitely make some strides in there. But again, why do you see him doing at 154? You think he can be a top guy, or you think he loses to Charlo and Hurd?
Hurd, you know, he's a handful. I mean, that guy is 1 inch taller than Kovalev, and he has a 4-inch reach advantage on Sergey Kovalev, right? The light heavyweight people's champion. So, you know, that guy, I can't imagine Hurd staying at 154 much longer. It's not like he's, you know, a tall, skinny guy. Like, Hurd's a big dude all around, right? I wouldn't be surprised if he was actually walked around at a weight very similar to Kovalev. So I can't really talk about that guy. We gotta see him against Erislandy Lara and see what he's really made of. But physically, he could prove to be just too much for Kell Brook. He'll get outboxed, he'll get outpointed, and he'll stop him in the 11th round. Maybe, I don't know. And like I said, we really haven't seen much from Brook on the rebound just yet to be able to really draw any conclusions. But, you know, athletically, reflexes, speed, you know, it's the same Kell Brook. It's his mental toughness that I would question. But, you know, we really, it's hard to make a judgment at this point in time. I don't feel like I saw enough tonight.
Yeah, this was more of a comeback fight. It was really a tune-up, the tune-up that he should have taken last year. And I guess, like you said, we have to wait and see. As for Jarrett Hurd, let me tell you something, guys. I'm not a fan of Lara because of the way he fights, but in this one against Hurd, I'm going to be rooting for Lara, man. I hope he outboxes Hurd, and I hope he runs circles around him, because this Hurd, he has to get his big ass, out of 154 into a division where he would be fighting guys his own weight. First of all, BoxRec has him listed at 6'1". Alright, 6'1". But he has the head the size of a guy who's 6'4", at least. At least. So this is a guy that should not be anywhere near 154. He's getting by on size. You cannot tell me that the size does not play a factor. The way he was eating those shots from Austin Trout, and again, I know Austin Trout, he's not a big puncher, but come on. That size is playing a factor, and it's unfair.
He's Robert Easter Jr. at 154.
Yeah, he's worse than Robert Easter Jr., man. And I think they have the same haircut too, though. I think. I don't know what that means. I just pointed that out. But anyway, let's see what people are saying in the chat room. Gachinello, give me my fight, says, if Crawford walks at 170 pounds, then what weight does Hurd walk around in? 200? It wouldn't surprise me, man.
He's 190 easy.
Jeez. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Kaiser Koba says Hurd got the shit beat out of him by Trout for about 5 rounds, and then he wore him down. He eats punches for breakfast. Like I said, it's like he's pumping those shots like they're candy from a Pez dispenser. This is the type of weight bullying that is effective. It's not just a couple of pounds. He's a big dude. Jahobi Mixay says Charlo and Hurd are weight bullies. Charlo is bad, but Hurd is the worst, really. Mr. Coxey says Lara will win. Corruption in Boxing says Precise, your dog disagrees. He's barking that Brook KO's Hurd. Cachinello says Hurd has had a growth. No, Hurd has a growth hormone dome. Big ass motherfucker. Yeah. Okay. Precise. If you had to bet, and if you had to speculate, do you think that's what Hurd is on? Do you think he's on the HGH?
No, I mean, no. Hurd is using the American version of clenbuterol to make weight. He's not trying to put on weight right now. No.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to stay artificially low, right? I mean, he's a light heavyweight at least, fighting at 154. So growth hormone would fuck him up right now. He's big enough, basically, right? That's not what he's on.
Would it be possible to take HGH and at the same time be taking diuretics to get big but then fight at lower weights, or is that a very hard thing to do?
Yeah, but it just doesn't make sense that he would do that. You know, he would just be fighting at welterweight, right? There's more money there anyway. You know what I mean? If he was naturally a little bit smaller and just took drugs to get a little bit bigger, that doesn't make any sense. He would just fight at 147 and still be a major weight bully there. You know what I mean?
All right, yeah, that makes sense. Shepherd of Son says Hurd and Harrison are the same size. Willie Nelson is bigger. I don't remember Willie Nelson being bigger. I'd have to rewatch his fight against who was it? The Andrade. Was it Andrade or was it Harrison? Anyway, I mean, one of those guys. Jehobi says Charlo stands no fucking chance against a top 5 middleweight. Sure, he's technically sound, but once he starts fighting people his own size, he'll get fucked. First of all, that's 2 fucks in one post. I don't like that. You gotta keep that swearing to a minimum. Cachinello says Canelo's head also seems to have grown a bigger head. His head looked bigger at the press conference. I noticed that. I noticed that Canelo's head is big. Now, it's always been a big head. And I don't know if it's because he's wearing a suit and, you know, it's hiding his neck, and so that accentuates the size of his big dome. But he looks like he's got a cinder block for a head. I mean, that's weird, man. Canelo's always had. I mean, you look at the Canelo from 2011 to the Canelo from 2014. He gained a lot of muscle. You know, yeah, I know you can make gains by lifting and all that, but he's a boxer. He's not a bodybuilder. So how come he looks like a bodybuilder? I mean, what's he doing there? What type of exercises do you think he's doing, Precise? Is Precise there, or did he jump off? Yeah, I think Precise dropped off. And by the way, Stu, are you still there?
Yeah,
Still cloning himself.
Yeah,
I'm
now
not
you're
sure
up.
if my signal's going. Yeah. So, can you shut some up? Take some of them off?
No, we can't. We can't. I'd love to try to take them off, but I don't know.
They go
how.
away by themselves, though.
Yeah, they go away eventually.
Oh,
but
no.
yeah,
Oh, they do they?
there's 4 stews right now. There's 4 stews. You know, some people say 1 is already a handful. Now we got 4 to handle. What's going on here? All right, let's go to the chat room.
Haters will be haters. You know, at boxing, there's a lot of whiny characters in boxing. They get upset when you've got an opinion about the guy they love, and you know, at the end of the day, we all got an opinion. But with boxing, it's become very childish, and that's why I stopped making videos, because butthurt little bitches, basically, if you want to keep it real, on a constant basis, and it gets tiring. You know, at the end of the day, if you want to just go to a yes man, then go to all these Dante boxing channels and all them other shit ass channels. That's just going to tell you what you want to hear. Because with me, I'm going to tell you what I think, not what you want to hear.
Yeah, man. I mean, I wasn't following the YTBC community. I only started last year when Bucho said, told me about it, that we had to really focus. And he's been following it longer than I have. And he talked about you and how you were making, pissing people off and everything. I mean, are you going to start making videos again at one point, or?
You know what? I'm not sure. I might do one here and then, but at the end of the day, I've enjoyed the piece because it gets constant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys are constant, and a lot of them don't have a lot to do. They've not got a lot going on in their lives, so they've got plenty of time on their hands, and they dedicate a lot of it to trolling you. It just gets tiring. You grow out of it. A lot of people have left the YouTube boxing community. I can assure you now. From when it started, there's a lot of people that had good channels that have gone because it's just gone childish.
Mm-hmm.
Now if I pick a white guy, I'm a Nazi. If I pick a white fighter to win, I'm a Nazi. Do you know? If I say I don't like a black fighter or this fighter, I'm a Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
So you just this is what you're dealing with.
Well, I don't know if you noticed this, but in the media they started calling people Nazis ever since Donald Trump won. Everyone's a Nazi, so they used the word so much.
Yeah.
They used that word so much, they overused it, that now when they, instead of calling somebody a Nazi, they have to go one over and say actual Nazi. So they have to include the word actual or literal in order to make it worse, because that word has lost all steam now, since everyone's a Nazi apparently.
The boy who cried wolf.
Exactly, it's the boy who cried wolf. Speaking of the boy who cried.
Yeah, I mean, the card, it hasn't got any meaning anymore. You could when someone, well, whatever, it just goes over your head. Before he was quite offended by it. You'd be like, you're trying to explain something. Nah, mate, I'm not. Now you're like, yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just used. The word's been. I tell you, it's 2018. The race card is dying a slow, painful death, and it's a good thing because it hasn't got any meaning anymore. Before it had meaning, but I think a lot of people have tried to use it for every excuse, everything that don't go their way, and that it's become just a it's a worthless word now. So.
It's a crutch. It's a crutch. I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments here, and what's his name? Hold on a sec. I saw one, but it's moving fast. Oh yeah, Foul Ball Boxing says, I can't wait to see the brand new shower curtains that Wilder will be wearing for his fight. Yeah, the guy has shower curtains. The guy has a weird style. And then Tube says, or he asks rather, was Canelo wearing skinny jeans at the press conference? Yeah, Canelo has a weird style. Bucho, did you see the sweater he was wearing when he was
it looked like a Christmas sweater.
Yeah, man, he had a sweater with a card with a king on it. Like the poker king, when you're playing cards. I mean, this guy has a weird style, man. Then again, he's a redhead. And
Deontay Wilder, he's the worst. Deontay Wilder's the worst dresser I've ever seen. I mean, he hasn't got a fucking clue. He's the sort of guy that wears pink with purple and shit. I mean, I just don't get this guy's dress sense. Them big fucking bow ties, terrible suits.
He's a clown.
Terrible hats. I mean, he's just a terrible dresser. Full stop. I mean, Wilder really needs to get some help from Eubank Senior or someone like that.
Absolutely, man. The weird style, man. Weird.
He is a clown. But
well, yeah, I don't know how they do it in Alabama. They seem to be pretty eccentric in the way they dress.
Suits, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see him with a polka dot suit at one point. And that's the thing. I wanted to ask you. I don't remember if I asked you earlier this week about Abel Sanchez.
Oh.
Abel Sanchez. He was talking a lot to Canelo, to the point where not only did Canelo in another interview called him a fucking idiot, but he told him to his face that the reason why he's talking to Abel Sanchez is because he's the one doing all the talking. In other words, Abel Sanchez, for a trainer, is opening his jaw a lot. And we talked about that on Wednesday before Abel Sanchez started getting attacked for what he said later on. What are your thoughts on that, Stu? I mean, does a trainer, should he keep quiet, or is this, since it's boxing, is it a free-for-all and he can do whatever he wants?
Well, just because he's Mexican, it doesn't mean he has to fight a certain way. You know, and we have to get this out of our heads here. You know, does every Mexican have to go in there and line swing? No, I'm sensible to fight the easier way, which is on the back foot and as damage as possible. But when you got a guy like Golovkin in there, I mean, I don't blame Canelo for not wanting to sit and trade with the guy. He's, you're shotting your way to that style of fighting, and I always knock it. But when you've got a guy like Golovkin in there, if you can do that, then fair play to you. But do that, I don't think he won the fight. I think he lost by a couple of rounds. I thought he threw the better shots. I really did. He showed the better boxing skills Canelo did, but Golovkin was just sure.
He didn't do enough to win the fight. That's the fact.
No, he was doing a lot of good work in there, just not enough. And so, at the end of the day, I get where Abel Sanchez is coming from, because Canelo's the first guy to moan at Austin Trout when he fought like that against him and Lara. You know, he was criticising their style, and he fought like a back foot style against Golovkin. So I can see where Abel Sanchez is going with it. But like I said, just because you're Mexican doesn't mean you have to fight that sort of way.
Yeah, no, you're right. But do you think that the comments that Abel Sanchez made were racist?
What about the black fighters?
Yeah.
There's some truth to what he said. There's definitely some truth to what he said. I think it's probably just the way he said it. He probably could have said it a better way, a more political, correct way, because the leeches are going to start. And they're picking apart every word you say wrong, and they're there to pounce. And I know where he's coming with it. I know where he's coming. It's more of an African, where it's Floyd Mayweather, like where they prefer to be back foot fighters, throwing little as possible and getting the win with as least damage as possible, but not exciting. And that's a lot of the problems with a lot of American fighters, especially the African American fighters. A lot of them are back foot fighters that are not going to put bums on seats. And it's not because you're black. It's why we don't like you. It's because you stink the joint out when you do fight. I mean, Andre Ward. Why should we go pay to watch Andre Ward hug and fucking grapple and hold and double takedowns and fucking? I don't want to see that in a boxing ring.
So do you think that people are making a big deal out of nothing?
Yeah, I mean, of course they are. But as soon as he said it, I knew he was going to have a backlash because.
Oh yeah.
That's you know what they're like. But at the end of the day, he's got a point. He's got a point, because that's why a lot of black fighters in America are not selling. I don't think it's a black style thing. I think it's an African American style thing. Because like Anthony Joshua is a big seller. He makes more money than any fighter in the UK. He goes to knock people out and it's exciting to watch fight. I don't think it's a black thing. I think it's an African American thing. Whether it's they've had this stuff. It's the Floyd Mayweather trend.
But you understood what Abel Sanchez, when he said blacks, he was obviously talking about American black fighting style, an American black fighting style. He wasn't talking about blacks throughout the whole world.
Yeah, I know that, but he didn't clarify that.
Yeah.
He said blacks, and let's be real. I know that a lot of Americans don't like to believe this, but there's actually there's a world out there, people. There's other people around that are not American. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's funny how
it's not.
Like the LDBC,
because a lot of Americans they live like the Truman Show, don't they?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I was gonna say it's funny because my point is, like, the LDBC always claim and glamour this hit and not get hit style and slickness. They always it's the best style ever, blah blah blah. Then you criticize this style and you're a racist now. And you're generalizing.
Well,
they're the ones who always say that it's the best style in the ever. Hit and not get hit.
You don't know the sweet science, they tell you. You don't know the sweet science. Rigondeaux, one of the greatest fighters you'll ever watch, technically superb. I can't watch the guy. If that's technically superb, then give me a Turo Gatti every day of the week. I don't want to watch technically superb. If that's yes, he does nice things, but come on, man. Do I want $1? So at the end of the day, it's on
like
these fighters to go and entertain.
Yeah, but they like to exaggerate as well. It's like either you like a style that is completely boring as fuck, or the opposite is Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti just throwing punches. Like, can there be an in between where you have boxing skills and some aggressiveness, effective aggressiveness? Can you have that? I think so. You don't have to go ahead.
Let's be real. Most of us that watch a fight, we're not going in there. We see the skills. We know what to look for. Nice jab, good footwork, and all that. Like, we notice that. But we ain't going to sit there. But when we're paying money, we ain't going to sit there. Well, I don't want a war. I want a pitter-patter chess match. I want to pay $100 for a pitch where there's 8 punches landed around, a lot of holding. That's what I want to see. Name one person that wants to see that.
The LDBC claim that they love this type of fighting, but it's bullshit. They just say that to cover up, to defend Mayweather and other type of boxers. That's the only reason why. If Mayweather didn't fight that way, they would be complaining about like boxers who fight in a boring fashion. But because Mayweather did it, they have to defend it, and they have to start claiming that they love that style. It's so exciting, the chess match. Bullshit.
Yeah, no. It's not, at the end of the day, you meet sites, you just want to see people get knocked out. Well, yeah, I do. I'm paying money. I want to see someone get knocked out. If they, they get paid good money to get in a boxing ring, and I don't want to see them pitter-patting their way to a pointless points win. I want to see someone get knocked out, and if that's me not being a boxing fan and knowing nothing about boxing, then so be it. But
yeah, I agree.
All right. Sorry about
Andre Ward is another one. Terrible to watch.
Oh, another point. Looking at people saying like, oh, so you want people to start throwing punches and exchanging, and then get brain damage. Like now, all of a sudden, they're fucking concerned about the boxers' life after their careers. Oh yeah, they're gonna get brain damage. First of all, how many boxers get brain damage? I mean, like, you have amazing fighters that were very exciting to watch, and they don't have any brain damage. So stop cherry picking fighters that got brain damage and blaming it on because they were having war. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So tell you what. Let's have boxers wear headgear and 14-ounce gloves, so nobody gets hurt. It's like, let's do that. And you can still have a chess match with 14-ounce gloves and headgear. Let's do that.
It's like saying, oh, my boy stunk the joint out tonight because he didn't want to see his opponent get hurt. I mean, you might as well just say that. I mean, it's ridiculous to even suggest that. I don't know, man. Like I said, I can't watch that sort of style. If that makes me anti-African American, then let them think that. But
no, it makes you a casual who doesn't understand the sweet science.
But you can be skilled and exciting as well. Lomachenko's proved
exciting. Exactly. Or you look at Chavez, who's Chavez Sr. He used to fight in the pocket, move his head. He had great defense and great offense. But these people don't know anything about boxing. Like I said, a lot of these people started watching boxing during Mayweather's welterweight reign after the De La Hoya fight.
See, Golovkin shows a lot of skills, but he goes there for the kill. He goes for still skills and be going for the stoppage win. It's not all about being on the back foot, looking slick, because that Floyd Mayweather era is over. No, fighters are not going to get away with that anymore. Floyd was lucky. No. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah, nobody's going to stand for that type of style of boxing, and there's no way.
Very talented man, Floyd. Very defensive genius. The best defensive fighter of all time in my eyes. But is he worth $100 to watch?
Mayweather had to create this gig on the side where he created all this money, like this personality of like the rich guy who has all these cars, who gets in trouble, and people I don't know, for some reason in the United States it's appealing to them, this gangster lifestyle. showing off all the cars and all the money. And so that's how Mayweather became Money Mayweather and became popular. Because let's be honest, they weren't there to watch him, go 12 rounds in a boring fight. They either wanted to see him lose, or they wanted to, follow all that lifestyle. And I don't know how to explain it properly, but you know what I mean, right?
Floyd made most of his money. Floyd made most of his money off people that wanted to see him get knocked out.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's a fact. That's a fact. And he's a very clever businessman. He played the bad guy, and it worked. But Adrian Broner tried the same thing, and it flopped. We're not falling for it anymore.
Yeah, Mayweather transcended boxing, and once you transcend boxing, you can stay there, and then people will watch your fights no matter what, because you've become even bigger than boxing. But a guy like Adrian Broner, I mean, he had the right formula, kind of, in a way. He was attracting a lot of people who are into that type of lifestyle and behavior, but he just didn't have the skills to back it up.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Adrian Broner, he's got no desire to be a great. It's just a big act with him. I think he's in boxing for money. He does it for money. He doesn't do it for the belts. I know they all do it for money, but some guys want to be the best. That's what that's why they can't get out of the game. Adrian Broner's in the game for money alone, and I think when you're in it for just one reason, money alone, it's not going to be enough when you're fighting the top boys. Because he's got the skills, but he just doesn't have any desire, does he?
Yeah, or maybe he's just stupid and doesn't train properly. I mean, say what you want about Mayweather, I think he had a pretty good work ethic. I don't think Broner had that.
Floyd Mayweather although he fought for the money, he still wanted to protect that zero, and it was all about the brand. Right, he couldn't afford to lose, so he won at all costs. And he's a dedicated man. He was training constantly, keeps himself looking in good shape, eats well. Adrian Broner is the total opposite.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, Mayweather knew that he had to keep that zero to keep the whole gig going, the whole this illusion of invincibility. Yeah, well, if Mayweather would have lost, then forget about it. His numbers would have gone down. There wouldn't have been this much interest in watching him fight. But because he was undefeated, there was this aura of invincibility around him, and everybody wanted to see Mayweather, the invincible guy, fight.
This is what used to make me mad about Mayweather when he's in there with guys like Robert Guerrero, and he's much better than them, levels above. Guerrero's basically shot to pieces. He's there for the taking, and he still pop shots his way to a points win when he could have got Guerrero out there in good fashion for the fans. But no, he doesn't care about putting a show on for the fans. It's all about keeping the zero at all costs.
Yeah, and also, yeah, it's true. But and then you ask yourself, well, why would people keep watching Mayweather? I also think one of the reasons why Mayweather did pretty good pay-per-view numbers was because there was also this competition between Mayweather and Pacquiao, and everybody was waiting for them to fight each other, and so everybody was watching both of them fight because they were like, okay, after this fight, they're gonna finally fight each other, but they never did. But we kept following them until the day that they fought. And after they fought, look at their pay-per-view numbers. They went to shit.
I'll tell you what, mate. They did a lot of damage to boxing that night, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. A lot of people that weren't really boxing fans in the UK, I'm going by my experience. The amount of people on my Facebook and that were getting that fight, they're not even boxing fans. Women, groups of girls ordered the fight, stayed up to watch that fight. All sorts of people, and they were really disappointed with the showing that both fighters put on, and they said they'd never pay for another boxing fight again. I see a lot of people say that. It did a lot of damage to boxing that night, and I think it's killed pay-per-view in America.
Oh, I think you're right. I think you're right. And about groups of women, let me tell you, I like to watch big boxing fights on at a bar because I like the atmosphere of everybody screaming and stuff. So let me tell you, when it's a big fight, when you see a group of, because I've seen this, when you see a group of women by themselves in a bar watching a boxing fight, you know it's a big fight. And there's only been 2 instances when I've seen that.
Exactly.
Pascal against Bute, because here it was a big fight in Canada, and also Mayweather Pacquiao. You would see a group of women just by themselves watching the fight. So but like you said, it hurt boxing, man. It hurt fucking boxing, and we're still seeing the effects right now. Nobody's buying pay-per-views anymore because of that shit fight.
I mean, Crawford sells less pay-per-views than go to watch him in the arena.
What's the problem with these fighters now? Do you think it's like they lack charisma, or what is it, man? Maybe they have to fight Mexicans.
Well, like
they
I
have
just
to fight Mexicans.
Boxing boxing.
Well, let's be honest. No.
Boxing style for a start, charisma, and the fact that Americans are sick to death of athletes in their country, basically, and they're turning off sports full stop.
Yeah, could be. I mean, Crawford is on ESPN. That's pretty a big platform, right?
If you look in America, all the sports, the figures are down. So right now, there's a period where a lot of them have got the athletes, the way they behave, and the spoiled brats, aren't they? A lot of them. And it turns a lot of people off. Boxing, it's behind all of them. It's not a big sport in America like it used to be. UFC's overtook it for me. I mean, boxing's still big when there's a big fight on, but boxing's struggling in America. Like I said, look at the pay-per-view numbers. I mean, Crawford got 14,000, I heard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like they don't fight enough also, let's be honest, but I mean, they should fight like 3 times a year. That's how Golovkin became popular also. He was fighting every three times a year.
Mayweather at one point would...
But Ben's only doing 150,000, isn't he?
Think so.
Yeah, but pay-per-view wise. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's be honest. We are in a post-Mayweather Pacquiao era. Pay-per-views are going to be shit for a while now.
Yeah, true.
But Golovkin does pretty good numbers on HBO. And he sold out Madison Square Garden. So he has a fan base.
And everything's on pay-per-view. A lot of these fights would have never been on pay-per-view in the 90s. It's like you get these average fights on pay-per-view. Like there used to be a certain standard for a pay-per-view fight. Now it's any kind of bullshit and it's all pay-per-view.
Yeah, exactly. And
Eddie Hearn's bad.
But the UK
Eddie
is
Hearn's
different.
the worst. Yeah, Eddie Hearn's the worst for it.
Yeah, but if it's $10 or the equivalent in whatever it is in UK, then you could kind of understand. Yeah. But in US, what are they paying? $70, $60, $100 sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, Baloo Cleverly weren't even worth $10.
Oh,
fucking terrible that was.
Well, let's be honest. In the UK, you keep buying these trash fights, man. I mean, barely okay.
Like
come on.
Yeah, but like Precise said, it's $15. It cost me that to get petrol to get to the pub from where I live, because I live in the countryside. So,
okay.
You know.
Tony Bellew against David.
It's a minor thing.
Okay, how much is Bellew hate to?
The same price. Same price.
Okay. Okay, £15. Let me see how much that is.
About $22, isn't it? Something like that.
Maybe. It's $26. $27.
$26, yeah.
Canadian dollars.
I mean, you Americans, Americans spend that on McDonald's. So it's nothing.
I don't know how much it's in the US. I live in Canada, so I don't know. It's like $7 here.
That's what they need to do. Americans need to do cheap, put the price down. Do it about $27, $30 a fight. I think the numbers will go up. They won't lose much, I don't think, because if you're charging $90 and you're only getting 15,000 buys, and if you charge $30 and you get like 50,000 buys, you know, they've got to do something because fucking hell.
Our boxers getting overpaid though.
Go on. Well, this is it. This is the thing. I think a lot of them, there's a lot of money being lost in America in boxing. I mean, Al Heyman basically he spent all that money, didn't he? All that money he got. I mean, he was giving it to people like Collazo and, you know, he was giving ridiculous money to average fight. Well, I'm not saying Collazo's average, but he's not worth the money he was getting, $1 million and things like that. So, and that money went quick. None of these fighters have made Heyman much money at all. When you look at Wilder tonight, I mean, I think he's on over $1 million, but they can't sell the seats in the arena.
Well, you know, the PBC's so it's a Ponzi scheme. It's something weird going on there. It's not a company that's there to make money. Somebody's like Al Heyman is just making money off I don't like the fees or something. Like
I'll tell you what Heyman's done. He's got people to put money in to this program, but because he's the manager of all the fighters, he's made these fights, paid them all ridiculous money, and took his percentage off.
Yeah, exactly. He gets a cut, so that's why Lara
he's bled these donors dry. He's bled these donors dry, and he's done it by paying his fighters ridiculous money that he can't make back. And because he gets his share no matter what, that's how he's done it.
I mean, this guy might be worse than Don King, man. Because at least Don King put on good fights while he was stealing money from his fighters.
Don King.
Well, then again, some people, at least the PBC fighters are getting paid, right? They're getting paid, though. That's what they always say.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're getting paid, but there's nothing coming back in return, and it can only go. You can't just keep taking money out of the pot.
Well, listen, the PBC is back on Showtime, so that tells you something about the whole company, how it was mismanaged. They were supposed to be on free TV. They're after 2 years, they're back on Showtime. So what the fuck was the point?
Because they're probably only I mean, I was reading ESPN were giving like 150 grand to put on cards and stuff. You know, that's not going to get you a decent card.
Yeah. Okay, I'm tired of talking about the PBC. Fuck the PBC. Why did you start talking about the PBC here? Like,
I don't know why you guys started talking about the PBC. But like I said before, you gotta give them credit, man. Now that they're back with Showtime, they're making good fights.
They have all the fighters, man. It's like, why would I give credit to them if they have they stole all the fighters from De La Hoya? Okay, then they should have been making the best fights in the last 3 years. But let's be honest, we got so many mismatches for 2 years. I'm not gonna just forgive them for that shit. Well, you want to applaud and stand up and fucking a round of applause?
Nah, well, I mean,
the reason they're putting on the big fights now because Showtime won't have it any other way.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they really screwed Showtime in, what was 2014. 2014 is when they started saving the big fights for when they, because Heyman already had planned the move away from Showtime. And if you look at Showtime's 2014 year, it was awful. Mismatches all over the place because the PBC was saving those big fights, and then finally they went over to the PBC and they ended up making those fights like Thurman against Guerrero, which at the time was an intriguing fight. Then finally Thurman's Porter and Thurman against Garcia, but it took about 2 years for those fights to happen. So they didn't pull the trigger on those fights right away.
No, they gave us Danny Garcia and Rod Sulker.
Yeah, exactly. When they were at now they're back at Showtime and they're finally making the fights that they were supposed to. It's a shame that it didn't work out with the networks, with the NBC.
Yeah, that would have been great.
It would have. I mean, look.
For boxing, it would have been amazing. I was excited for it. I was like, holy shit! And they have all these fighters. Then after that, I was very disappointed. The PBC didn't deliver.
And by the way,
you're not going to be able to put on big fights without a pay-per-view sort of system. It's just not these days. It's not going to happen anymore. and that's the only way you're gonna make money in boxing.
Listen, I thought the PBC was gonna put some fighters on prime network television. They were gonna build them up, and eventually they were gonna start doing their own pay-per-views because they were gonna create these boxing stars, and they were gonna be able to move them to pay-per-view. But that never happened.
They've got no characters. They've got no characters.
Absolutely.
They're either very good fighters and dull as dishwater, or terrible characters. Good fighters but terrible characters. So you know what I'm trying to say.
Well, you have a guy like Keith Thurman, and okay, let's take an example. Let's take about Keith Thurman. Is he a boxing superstar? Can he even be on a pay-per-view?
Thurman is probably one of the guys that he could be.
But Stu, he could be. Stu, this is a conversation that we were having 3 years ago. He could be a star. It's been 3 years, and we're still saying, "Oh, he could be a star." He should be a star right now.
I think he's got the personality, and I think he's a very good fighter. So he does have that. Where some are very good fighters, like I said, lack of personality or lack of skills, very good personality. It's never both. And Thurman certainly does have both, and he's probably one. I mean, when you look at a lot of Terence Crawford, very good fighter, could talk a glass eye to sleep. You've got Errol Spence, that doesn't seem to be the sharpest tool in the box. Very good fighter. I mean, the characters I just don't think the characters are there with the talent to go with it. Like Mike Tyson, them sort of characters, they're just not there anymore.
Michael Stott in the chat says you have to be Mexican to sign with Golden Boy. Well, that's not true, because all of those fighters that Al Heyman stole and Richard Schaefer, they were with Golden Boy before, and not all of them were Mexican, so that's not true.
Let's be real. The Mexicans, they back their boys. At the end of the day, the LDBC can get upset about none of these black American fighters getting any love, but there's 50 million of them in America. There's enough to be given There's enough of them to be giving out love to their fighters, where they don't need Hispanics and whites to love them. At the end of the day, you go and back your own boys. You're sitting there moaning, but you're watching the fight on a free stream.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why is it up to us to fill their pockets?
I think they're very loud on social media and YouTube, especially these groups. But I think they truly are a minority, because if they were if it was a large group of people, then we would see them supporting their fighters, the fighters that never sell, like Andre Ward, who doesn't sell out in Oakland, Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux's this god. He's like so great. And then he fights in empty arenas. So
yeah, but that's not because any other reason that they're just boring fighters, and their own people.
All the black Americans. All the black Americans are watching Triple G and Lomachenko. Come on.
Oh, they are for sure, man. They claim they don't like. Yeah. Sure.
Hey, them post-fight videos, they're out a couple of minutes after the fucking 12th round's finished. So, yeah, they're definitely watching them.
They're also watching the World Boxing Super Series.
Yeah, I mean, that's another series.
Boxing fans are boxing fans, man. These guys in YouTube, most of them, they're just an anomaly, man. I'm telling you guys, it's like a George Soros fucking shoot off BLM.
Boxing doesn't need America anymore. Obviously, it's great that America's part of boxing because they've got some fantastic fighters, and they've got Vegas, and that's the Mecca of boxing. But before, where it was just dominated by Americans fighting Americans for world titles, it's a world sport now. Now, if America banned boxing tomorrow, boxing would still survive. Obviously, it'd be worse off, but it'd still survive.
Yeah, it's good.
I just don't think boxing,
credibility.
American boxing. Go on, bro.
No, I'm just saying it's good for, credibility of the global boxing scene for America to be involved, but maybe it's time to take a back seat to maybe the UK, It's time for somebody else to call the shots now, and let's see what happens.
I mean, did you see the production of that World Boxing Series? How everything was done. It was just world-class production. The way the fighters came out, the way everything was
and it's
done,
only
just professional,
yeah,
entertaining.
the little spots, and it's only getting better. You know,
Exactly.
it's kind of a trial still. It's gonna get better.
Exactly, and that's what I think Europe's doing different. They're bringing new ideas to the sport, and boxing is very traditional in America, still traditional. And half the time you got some rapper coming out that you can't even hear what he's fucking saying, rapping a load of bollocks. I mean, with about 2,000 people in the crowd, you know, it's just who's going to stay up to 4 o'clock in the morning and watch that?
I don't know. With this ESPN deal, maybe it's gonna work out in the US.
Yeah, not everybody's interested in that life, you know.
Yeah, it gets boring after a while. I think Mayweather overplayed it. Now people are bored of it.
I mean, fucking Kell Brook comes out to Rihanna, mate. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Just change it up a bit. It don't matter as long as you know. That's a good tune to come out to. Now, don't come out to that one, though. Yeah, definitely don't come out to that one.
Yeah. What were we talking about, anyways? Like,
we was talking about
BBC.
boxing in America. Just the production of boxing in America is just not. It just seems very cheaply done at the moment. They're not like they used to be. It used to be just a fucking getting up watching boxing at 4 o'clock in the morning, big fight in America, nothing better. And they've just lost that spark. I mean, the arenas are half empty and there's no. Basically, that's it. You know, that's what we was talking about. Is everyone gone? Gone.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me, Precise?
It's kind of dead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't hear anyone else
Yes.
but you. BDA's gone.
Fuck them. Who needs them?
I watched your videos earlier.
Which one? The Wilder video?
I watched 2 of them. I watched the Wilder one and what's the other one I watched? I can't remember now. I watched 2 of them though.
About drugs, probably. My favorite.
Yeah, the
topic.
drugs one. The one about peds.
Who you got tonight? Yeah.
I'd love Ortiz to pull it off. You know.
Who you picking, by the way?
Who did? I didn't.
It would be hilarious as hell, wouldn't it?
Oh, listen, I'd love it to happen, but let's be real here. Ortiz is 50 years old. He's got to be. That guy's 50 years old. And I just think it might be the right time to catch him.
People underrate Wilder, man.
Do you rate him?
Wilder's got a lot of haters, and sometimes he fights like a bum, but when he really tries, he's
like
pretty
when?
good. People underrate him, and it's easy to do that.
That
The
fucking
Stavern
right
fight.
hand is.
I knew you were gonna say this. Yeah, that's the only fight I was like. He showed some good, some movements. But
that right hand
I mean, Direll Washington. That
right.
But who got a better jab at heavyweight than Deontay Wilder? Honestly. And I'm not talking about guys on the come up like Klitschko, but besides Klitschko, I mean, well,
okay,
yeah. Besides that,
Joshua has a jab. I mean, somewhat of a jab.
I think Tyson Fury's got a decent jab as well. Let's be real.
Yeah,
I mean,
Tyson has a nice jab, I guess.
Wilder's got a nice jab, but it helps when your opponent's not moving his head.
It helps when you're tall as fuck.
He's better than he lets on. I'm telling you guys. Deontay Wilder is better than he lets on. Like, I agree, he looks wild and crazy sometimes, and he will get outboxed. But I'm telling you guys, there's just something about he's saving the best for last, man. And And
I tell you
depending
what,
on how he looks
I wouldn't
tonight,
want to bet my.
ah,
I wouldn't want to bet my house on him to lose. To lose. He's that sort of guy. I don't rate certain things he does, but I wouldn't bet my house on him to lose.
He can't lose. He can't.
He's got.
All right, so now we have people that are starting to get on the Wilder bandwagon, which is good, because let me tell you something. Once people start believing in Deontay Wilder, now we have a fight against Anthony Joshua. Of course, Wilder first has to get past Ortiz, but I mean, let me tell you something. That Joshua fight, I'm telling you, they're gonna fight. All these people all over Twitter and YouTube and in the forums, going back and forth about who's avoiding who doesn't want to fight. It's all a big jerk off. They're gonna fight. Same thing with Canelo Golovkin.
It's always like that, BDA. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's always like this, and people fall for it every single time, and it's just like, oh my god, you fucking casuals. It's gonna happen.
And by the way,
But the thing is with Wilder,
It's the Mayweather-Pacquiao
has-
blueprint, right? Just piss the people off.
I mean, Wilder's he's taken his eye off the ball here. He keeps
Lost you
he
there.
keeps going on about Joshua, constantly talking about Joshua, and he's barely mentioned Ortiz, the guy he's got in front of him tonight. So that could be, you know, if he took his eye off the ball, he could be in trouble tonight.
it's an intriguing fight. It's a very intriguing fight. Now, Akuma's Deception, a couple of pages ago, asked us to talk about Bivol versus Barrera. Now, we spoke about that a little bit, but Precise, I don't believe I had your prediction, although you did make a video on your channel, which I would suggest people check out. But if you could, just give us a quick rundown of what you think is going to happen in this fight.
Well, basically the way I see these two guys is they're not exactly carbon copies of each other, but they're both from basically the same school of boxing, and the Soviet school of boxing. It is what it is. People could fucking bitch and moan and cry, but these guys are fundamentally sound. They have, they're very well schooled, both of them, and they're very similar in a lot of ways, except I would class Bivol as a fighter and Barrera as a boxer puncher, meaning that stylistically he has the advantage, but even though they're very similar in the way they go about their business, Bivol is just faster, more aggressive. You know, he's the youthful guy. He's got better footwork. He's not necessarily better technically, even though I think he is a little bit. But he the key advantages that he has are, you know, speed, athleticism, volume, and just that. He's got that hunger. I'm not saying Barrera's not a hungry fighter, but you really see that hunger in Bivol. So I only really give Barrera a puncher's chance, and only if Bivol gets exposed as somewhat chinny in this fight. But I'm not on the hype train necessarily, but I do recognize the talent and the skill, and I think he's a favorite for a lot of very good reasons, and I think he wins this fight. I want to give Barrera the benefit of the doubt. That is him going 12, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. A stoppage would not surprise me, because this is it's a test, but at the same time, I think Bivol is going to try to make it a showcase. But we'll see if Barrera lets him. I'm not counting Barrera out, but I'm 100% behind Bivol in this one.
Okay, yeah. Now, you did mention at the end of your video that you were thinking of maybe buying some stock on Bivol, meaning you see the potential for big things. I gotta ask you guys, and I was gonna ask Stu this too, but then his connection dropped out. Why are people more high, do you think? Why do you think people are more high on Bivol than they are on a guy like, say, Alexander Gvozdyk, who so far has accomplished more in his career?
Very good question.
Promotion.
It's a very hard one to
He's got
answer.
the network.
Just basically knocked it on the head. I mean, it depends who you're with. If you've got a 2-bob promoter, no matter how good you are, then you're going to struggle to get a name for yourself. The way Eddie Hearn, he could sell you, well, he could sell a fucking O. So it depends. You know, it's that, and it's fighting styles as well. It depends. And with Bivol, he looks It looks like he's gonna be a very strong contender in that division, and he's one. I mean, Carl Froch really rates him. Carl Froch says Andre Ward retired because of Bivol, so to avoid him. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, well, you never know. I think what Ward is doing is he's pulling a Mayweather 2008. He's stepping back from a strong division, and he wants to see what happens and who ends up on the top. That way he doesn't have to take out all of the other guys. Now, Precise, do you think that's really the reason why Bivol is more popular? Is it because of the promotion, or is it because he has a flashier style than Gvozdyk?
It's the promotion. He's got the momentum right now, and he was being mentioned with Andre Ward, who even though is not a big star necessarily, he might be the biggest name at 175 anyway. So because he was that mandatory and his name got attached and HBO are behind him, and he doesn't have a more fan-friendly style in my opinion. I think Gvozdyk is another level above Bivol, just my opinion. But you know, he's got the momentum right now, and he's been kind of rushed and pushed into this situation, and he's done well for himself. So that's really what this is about. Gvozdyk, to me, it looks like he's still figuring things out. He's still not quite ready. He's taking his time, and I respect that too. But you know, he's just hot right now, and that's really what it comes down to.
Now, when it comes to judging prospects, because really that's what Bivol is at this point, his best opponent so far has been, what's his name? The guy who fought Kovalev, one of the first ones who went past 6 rounds. What was his name?
Agnew?
Yeah, Cedric Agnew. Yes, thanks, Cedric Agnew. That's really his. Well, actually, if you want to include, maybe it's Valera or it's Cedric Agnew. But when you guys look at a prospect who makes a big jump like this, because Barrera is a big jump, we know Bivol is skilled and he has physical talent, but he hasn't proven it yet against a guy like Barrera. At this point, like I said, a lot of fans are very high on Bivol. I'm curious, why is HBO so high on him? Is it because Gvozdyk is with Top Rank and they need some light heavyweights? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, hard to say. They just, they got I guess they got a good deal with the guy, and that's what they got. That's what they're working with. So he's getting pushed, really. I mean, I don't see why. I could be wrong, and Gvozdyk has hit the canvas before, I believe, been hurt. So there's some questions there that he needs to answer. But, I mean, to me, just looking at the skill, like, Gvozdyk beats them all, in my opinion.
Whoa. Well,
if his chin holds up, yeah.
But based on, because we've had this conversation about other fighters, and it always comes back to the same thing, which is a logical thing, which is who have they beaten? And Bivol at this point has looked good against Valera and against Agnew. He's shown fast hands, but he hasn't shown it against a guy like Barrera. He hasn't shown it against a guy like Beterbiev or Gvozdyk, or even, a guy like Pascal from, 2014 version or 2015 version of Pascal would have been a good test. I mean, are we overrating him a little bit here?
It depends who you talk to, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying he's the best or that he's proved anything. I'm just saying there's potential there. He's promising. He's someone to keep an eye on, and he's someone to get excited about. He has an exciting style. Reminds me in some ways of a young Pacquiao, and he's a fun fighter to watch. Throws a lot of punches. Really, that's what it really comes down to when it comes to the casuals, right? Just action, and he's an action fighter, and that's great. But I'm not really rating him. I mean, I'm making a prediction, but I could very well be wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. It's hard for me to answer that question. I think some people are definitely overrating him, and there's always that boxing hipster mentality. I mean, I've heard people talking about Bivol. I've mentioned him a long time ago, but I've heard people being very high on him, 3 years ago, and they, it's this kind of phenomenon where people are like, I noticed him first, so now they're riding with him till the end, you know what I mean? Just to be able to say like, that's my guy. I told you guys, it's one of those things, and that's fine. I see the talent. I get it. as far as rating them, no, I said in my video, he hasn't proved anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to see.
Yeah, because people, like you said, people love to be able to be the ones that say, hey, I was on this guy's bandwagon since day one. You know, a lot of people tried to do that with Paul Williams back in 2007, 2008 when he beat Antonio Margarito. That was it. That was people saying, see, I told you this guy was good. This was the boogeyman, blah, blah. And then he loses to Carlos Quintana, and you know how that story ended up going. So that's the thing. Fans love to jump at the bandwagon, and I think a lot of people, I'm not saying Bivol sucks, but I'm saying let's wait a little bit before we start talking about how good he is, because it goes both ways. People love to say, well, this guy hasn't beaten anybody, he sucks. But then when they have a prospect that they like, they go, oh yeah, this guy's the best, he beats everybody. People were doing it after Errol Spence beat Chris Algieri. They were saying, oh yeah, he beats everybody. He beats Pacquiao, he beats Thurman. I mean, if you want to say that now, after he beat Kell Brook and Peterson, okay, maybe now you have a better argument. But after one win, nah. Yeah, people are jumping the gun on that one. What's his name? Foulpole Boxing says, anyone notice Bivol's love of the turtleneck? Bivol is wearing a lot of turtlenecks, and let me show you a picture. The picture of BoxRec. Look at this guy. He looks like the guy they put you into a room with in South Korea, who pulls your teeth out with a bunch of pliers. That's the guy. I bet you Bivol is the guy that was... What's the name of that American guy that came back from South Korea and he ended up dying because he was tortured over there? What's his name? I'm pretty sure the last thing he saw in South Korea was Bivol's face, because Bivol looks like a mean prick. And by the way, let's talk a little bit about his race. What is he? He's half South Korean. I mean, not South Korean, like Korean, right? He's half Korean, half Russian or something. What is he exactly?
I think he's another Triple G. He looks like a Kazakh or some Russian Kazakh, or he could be half Korean, half Russian, like Golovkin. He's definitely got that Asian look to him, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got that. He should be on a horse somewhere in a field shooting a bow or an arrow. I mean, he looks like one of those. What's his? Kaiser Koba saying he's Moldovan. Father from Moldova, mother from Korea. Okay, there you go. Thanks, Kaiser.
Yeah, so it's basically the same, because Moldova was the old Soviet Union anyway. Basically the same as Russia. So yeah, basically the same as Golovkin.
Okay, so if he's half Korean, that means he only eats half a cat, right? Like, which half of the cat does he eat? The back or the front? All right, that joke fell flat. No worries about it. I can't bat 100 every fucking time. What do you want from me? Corruption in Boxing says CIA rendition is in South Korea, so covert operative tells me. Oh yeah, where is covert operative? He's probably flying a drone somewhere, bombing people in a Pakistani wedding or something.
Kovalev.
What about him?
No, I thought you mentioned him. He's fighting tonight, isn't he?
Well, yeah, we talked about him a little bit briefly, and I wanted to get your opinion on him. The guy he's fighting is I've seen two of his fights during the build-up for this fight. He's a southpaw. He looks solid. And first of all, let me mention his name because I don't want to butcher it, so I have to look it up. But Igor Mikhalkin, and he's got a pretty decent. Yeah, you gotta keep Michael Jackson away from him, man. Oh no, wait a minute, that makes no sense. Michael Jackson is dead. But anyway, Igor Mikhalkin, he's got a 21-1 record, 9 KO, so he's not a strong puncher. But I tell you what he does have. He's a southpaw, he's tall, rangy, quick hands. Again, you look at his record, nowhere near the competition that Kovalev has fought. I mean, the only names I recognize, Dudu Negumbu, okay, he fought him twice, once in 2009 and then a rematch in 2013. Both fights were close on the scorecards, although I thought it was pretty apparent in the second fight, which is the one that I watched, that Mikhalkin edged that one, and the Thomas Ostuzin fight, which I did not watch all of it, but Mikhalkin has quick hands, man. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you think, and this is what I asked Bucho earlier, right now, does Kovalev need to make a statement in order to regain the status that he had? Does he have to do that, or do you guys think he's still the same old Kovalev?
I think with Kovalev, I think, when we was talking about attributes earlier, Kovalev using his physical attributes. I mean, his strength and his punching power, because I think his will and desire is lacking. I think if he had the work ethic of someone like, he'd be a fantastic fighter. I think we're not seeing the best Kovalev. I think it's proved that. Even though he won the Ward first one for me, he was not at his best. He was drinking, not training properly, and it's a bit of a pattern going through his career at the moment. And he's in every fight. He's got worse, if anything. So
Kovalev is wearing a man purse now, like carrying a man purse. So I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I just don't think he's going to get back what he had. I think he's slowly he's still dangerous. Don't get me wrong. He's still a very good fighter, but I don't think he's going to get any better. If you know what I mean. I think he's going to gradually get worse, because I just don't think he's got the work ethic, and he don't live the lifestyle to be a top fighter. His physical attributes have got him this far, and just shows you how he's a very dangerous guy, and he could be potentially very, very good, but just hasn't moved on for me.
Now, do you think that's partly because of his age, or you think mentally he's...
It could be. I mean, mentally, the Andre Ward thing. I mean, I was very disappointed with Kovalev that night. Granted, Andre Ward was an absolute disgrace. The referee was an absolute disgrace. Probably one of the worst nights of boxing I've seen in many a moons. I mean, I went to bed angry. But Kovalev, I was more angry than Kovalev was about it. I mean, he should have been hounding the referee about those low blows. He should have got his 5-minute breather. He was doing none of it. He just accepted that he's just been robbed of his world title. He just accepted it.
Yeah, that one was weird, man. That one was weird. The way he didn't complain as much.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't want to hear about the LDBC. Oh, because Ward broke his heart. No, he didn't. He broke his fucking bollocks. You know, he punched him in the balls. He didn't break no fucking heart. Let me punch you in the balls.
Kovalev was outboxing him in the second fight. He was out-jobbing the boxer. He was out-jobbing the skilled-ass fucking boxer, man.
The slick boxer.
Yeah. Lumped him up,
he looked slow that night. Kovalev didn't look at his best at all. And he was still out-jabbing Ward.
Now, let me ask you this then, regarding Kovalev, because people were saying that John David Jackson threw him under the bus after the fight, and there was these allegations that he was drinking, which I think he later went on to confirm. What the hell is he doing drinking? Is this a Russian thing? Is he drinking a little cup of vodka a day, or is he, full-on alcoholic? Anybody know?
To me, he kind of looks like he likes to drink pretty hard.
Was that precise?
Just looking at his face, to me, it looks like he likes to drink pretty hard.
I live in Europe, and I can assure you, Eastern Europeans love to drink, and they drink heavily, especially vodka. And that's why they're always fighting in the streets when they get drunk.
Yeah, it's part of the culture, and I think that's why Meldonium was so popular, because from what I read, it helps people recover from partying. You know what I mean?
That's good to know, first of all, that helps with the partying. I'm going to be putting that in my wish list this weekend. But second of all, I mean, if he was drinking, and if what John David Jackson said was true, that he wasn't training as hard as possible, really, whose fault is that? And does that play into Stu's point, which is that maybe at 34, 35 years old, maybe Kovalev is just heart is just not that into boxing anymore?
And
yeah. Go on, bro.
I think there's no use really speculating. It sounds to me like that was a dark chapter in his history, and he's put it behind him. And let's see what he has left. You know what I mean? He was going through a lot with beefing with his trainer. Then he gets a new trainer, and they're threatening his life. In the lead up to the fight, he was angry because he got so blatantly robbed. I mean, can you imagine coming to a foreign country, working your ass off, were fighting for free and collecting all these belts, traveling all over the world to collect all these belts, and then you give this chump a fight and then they just steal all your belts from you. And I mean, like, how many men, and I'm talking about like hard men, how many men would have really dealt with that well? That will really crush your, you have to be really psychologically strong. Yeah, so
it's a career finisher, definitely.
I understand the criticism, but at the same time, you got to put it into context and leave it in the past, and let's see what happens from now on. You know what I mean? We could speculate all night, but time will tell.
Well, there is that good advice of leaving it in the past, but it doesn't seem, from what I've read in unboxing scene this past week, it doesn't seem like Kovalev wants to let it go. He's been talking long and loud about what happened against Ward, which is something he should have done in the ring right after the fight. Like Stu said, he should have thrown a tantrum. Something was weird on that night, and Andrew Ward now came back and he's retorting and saying, listen, you know, what happened, admit you got beat. So again, we were talking earlier about Andrew Ward's competitiveness. The guy doesn't care how he wins, he just wants to win. Kovalev, on the other hand, he seemed a little passive after the fight, and now he's talking about it. So I don't know what's going on here, man. Both guys, you know, Kovalev...
Well, Andre Ward retired after that fight, and the reason he retired is because the backlash he got from it. You know, he's got a big ego, Andre Ward, and he could see the backlash from that fight. It was a terrible way to win a fight. Terrible sitting there putting your hands up like you've just done a good job and claiming victory like
PEDs.
Well, now we got no proof.
Nobody was gonna watch him again. You know, his next fight would have flopped, so he had no choice. Yeah,
exactly. It basically finished his career. So although he won the fight, he lost in the long run.
Yeah, fuck him.
Now,
still makes me angry thinking about it now, to be honest.
Yeah, well,
makes me fucking angry.
Kovalev should have been more incensed at that, but again, he probably had his reasons. Again, he just went through a tough fight, demanding fight, so maybe he didn't have the energy to react that way. I don't know, but whatever happens, he does have a winnable fight in front of him right now. It's gonna be there's a title on the line, and the division is stacked with killers right now. And of course, we're gonna have Adonis Stevenson taking on Badu Jack on May the 19th. We've been making videos about that fight. Is there any possibility that Stevenson takes on any of these guys should he get past Badu Jack, or are we still living in La La Land by pretending that he's ever gonna fight one of the guys that's not from the PBC?
No, we could just pray and hope that Badu Jack beats him and take it from there.
I gotta tell you, man.
I see Badu Jack winning that fight quite
really
quickly.
Wow, because
I really do.
I see Badu Jack as a little too vulnerable.
Badu Jack is a very underrated fight. Badu Jack, tell you,
he is
strong. He's hungry. He's strong. Technically, very good. In everything he does. All right, he's not world class. Very good at most things. He's got a good guard. He's hard to hit. He understands range. He throws nice combinations. He hits hard enough to hurt you. I mean, he's a nightmare for Stevenson. I'm telling you that now, he is.
By the way, speaking of the light heavyweight division, Foulpole Boxing is talking about how the Ward versus Kovalev fights were good fights except for the ball punching. But I gotta ask you, speaking of Andrew Ward, is he gonna be an announcer tonight for HBO? Is anybody aware of who the commentators are gonna be?
I don't know, but he's overrated as an announcer. I mean, people overrate the shit out of Andre Ward in every single aspect of his being. Fucking overrated as shit. But I mean, I guess it's not that hard to overrate somebody when your cohorts are fucking Kellerman and Lampley. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Kellerman and Lampley are overdoing it.
I think in America, I think you have chosen ones now and again. Now and again, they'll have a chosen one, and it's usually a gold medalist. America's, they'll get a gold medalist, and this will be their jewel in the crown, and they'll do everything to build this guy up, protect him, to get decisions go his way, to get referees on their side. The Americans are the best at it. I mean, I'm not taking a pop at Americans here, but it's just how it is. They're very good at it, and Andre Ward is their poster boy. He's the gold medalist. They built him up from the start. That whole tournament, the Super Six, was built around him. He never fought away from home once. You know, he had everything his own way. He headbutted Kessler to death and never got 1 point taken off. I mean, it was just built for him to win.
Now, you make a good point, man. And if Andrew Ward and Kovalev ever got it on in a rubber match, I would suggest that they do it in Russia, naked, in a Russian bathhouse, with a bunch of knives. That's the way they should handle it. Forget about a boxing match. It ain't gonna work out that way. Ward wanted to get... He wanted to get dirty, make it dirty.
In a real fight.
That's right, make it a real fight.
Ward dies.
And by the way, and I asked Precise Puncher this last week, I think it was last week, about why is HBO so high on Andre Ward, because I would understand if Andre Ward was a big moneymaker. If he was a guy that got the ratings, that got millions of pay-per-views, if he was like a Canelo, I would understand why they would kiss his ass, but he doesn't bring pay-per-view box office hits.
It's their friend, it's their fucking friend.
You think that's it, man? You don't think that maybe he has... I mean...
He's American and they're obsessed with him.
Well, don't forget that Andre Ward is with James Prince, I think. And we talked briefly about James Prince. I mean, we're not going to talk about him anymore here, but if you guys want to check out James Prince, check out some of the allegations that have been made about him in the past, including the state of Texas, who at some point was investigating him as well. But they came up short with evidence. So, I don't know if he's still with James Prince, but the fact that these HBO commentators are on his dick like I've never seen. I mean, we lived through the De La Hoya era where HBO commentators were high on him. They were high on Jermaine Taylor, Roy Jones, Marco Antonio Barrera, but I've never seen them this high. I mean, they compliment this guy 8 times a broadcast. Normally, Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins, Emmanuel Stewart, Gil Clancy, they would get maybe 2 compliments a night. This guy is getting 8 compliments. There's something weird here.
Yeah, but who else? BDA, who else do they have that speaks English? Like, honestly, who else do they have?
You think that's it, man?
Somewhat coherent English.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. By the way, I want to welcome Reverse Lee on the Hangout. Reverse, are you there?
Yes.
How are you, man?
Good.
That's great to hear. All right. We got a couple of time left here for you. Do you want to talk about anything specific, or you want to just keep riffing about what we're riffing about?
You can just keep talking about whatever you were talking about.
Okay, well, let me get your prediction then about today's main event. I think the one that people are looking forward to the most is Ortiz-Wilder. So I got to ask you 2 questions. 1, are you looking forward to it? And 2, who are you picking for that one?
Not really. I guess Wilder will win.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so you think Wilder? All right. So you're not a big fan of this heavyweight division right now, huh? You don't have a favorite in this division?
Not really.
All right. You like the lower divisions?
Yeah, I'd rather see the HBO fights. Maybe I'll turn the volume down.
The volume?
To make the volume.
Oh, the volume. I thought you said volume.
I know. I mess up with that word sometimes.
I mess it up too, man, and it gets me in trouble sometimes at the pharmacy. But listen, okay, so you're not gonna watch Wilder. I mean, you could get a chance to watch it.
The time I'm gonna try to watch Direll-Uzcategui.
Exactly.
But then after that fight goes off, I'll probably switch to the HBO card.
Okay, all right. So then forget about the Showtime card. Let's talk about Barrera Bivol. Are you looking up forward to it, and who are you picking for that one?
I'm picking Bivol, but I think it will be a competitive fight.
Okay, that's good. Now, I asked this question to everybody else. Why are people so high on Bivol? I mean, I understand why, because he's good, but why are people picking him as a favorite and overlooking a guy like Alexander Usyk?
Are they really doing that?
Well, from what I read in the chats, in the message boards, and on YouTube, most people are high on. I mean, I remember Hamed kept going on and on about Bivol, but very, very rarely do people speak about Usyk. And by the way, I gotta specify.
I think Usyk's the top fighter. I think he's one of the top 5 in the division.
Yeah, well, Precise said too. Precise thinks that Gvozdyk is a full level above. Well, not a full level, but he thinks he's a better fighter than Bivol, which is saying something because people are very high on Bivol. So you're picking Bivol by decision, close fight. You think anybody gets dropped in this one?
Like late knockout.
Oh, late knockout. I thought you said decision.
I'm picking him to win, but I think it'll be late knockout. I don't think Barrera's chin can handle the punches.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he'll have a good enough technique to where he won't get hit that often.
All right. Now, this is a question for everybody. Anybody can jump in on this one. Has Barrera been doing a lot of yapping during the build-up to this fight on Twitter? Because I don't follow the Twitter of the fighter, so if anybody can inform me about it.
The most he was doing was just pushing VADA testing, which he did get.
Oh, this is a VADA?
That's what I saw.
This is a VADA tested fight? Good. I mean...
Yes.
Now that's the thing. Precise. Speaking of VADA, you said that maybe VADA is one of the reasons why Wilder is losing a lot of his muscle mass. Does that mean that Wilder, let's say in theory, because we here at BDA aren't accusing anybody of steroid use, but let's say that Wilder was using something illegal, and all of a sudden now he's losing all this weight because of VADA. Does that mean that he doesn't have a good chemist in his corner? Because if he had a good chemist, wouldn't he be able to juice whenever he wanted, despite the VADA 2-month testing?
Maybe so. Maybe they just need to tweak his formulas a little bit. They get a feel for the VADA schedule, pick up on patterns, and learn the game a little bit better. I don't know. Or he just has a bum chemist.
A bum chemist. There's nothing worse than that. That can get you killed. That can get you killed, man. I remember I used to sell a couple of stuff out of a van for a doctor.
I mean, Deontay Wilder is the same weight as Usyk fights at, about 215 pounds on fight night. And that's very light for a 6'7" heavyweight.
You know what?
Too
That's
light.
a good point. That's a fucking good point. 214. That's not so far off of what. Like, let's say Usyk fought at heavyweight. You guys think he would come in at 210 or 218?
More that 215.
215. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would say maybe 220.
Maybe 215 on the scale, 220 in the ring, yeah.
Now, by the way, Precise, earlier today you said that Barrera, you think he's still hungry. I'll tell you who else is hungry, who definitely is hungry, Ortiz, because I just remembered, as I'm looking it up here, the guy weighed in, so he's what, some 30-something pounds bigger than, or heavier I should say, than Wilder, and I'm going to put up the picture of the weigh-in. Wilder, his pecs look, he doesn't look as muscular in the pecs as before, and the traps also, maybe they're lacking a little bit of definition, I don't know. He still looks better than Ortiz. As you can see, Ortiz, he looked like he just came out of the Christmas period, and that he's been stuffing his face with turkey and gravy. Already the guy is slow and old. Now he comes in heavy. He's not the type of guy that's gonna muscle anybody around. That's not his style. So why do you guys think he came in so heavy and so fat?
He didn't train very well for this fight.
Oh, come on. I don't want to hear that, man. I want a good fight.
He trained. He's at the same weight he was for that bum he fought not that long ago. Like,
exactly,
come
man.
on.
Malik
Exactly.
Scott?
No, not
Or the
even.
English guy.
Martz, yeah.
Oh, this is...
Everyone should be very critical. Like, this man needs to be 230 tops.
You know what?
And he should be as light as possible because he's gonna need to get the distance off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
He's going to need to use it. He's going to need to use his feet. He's going to need to use his feet because I've got a feeling Wilder is going to use the Stavern 1 game plan. I think that's why he's coming quite light. That's if the chemist is not working, as you boys say. But one of the reasons he's coming light is because he's probably looking at fighting on the back foot, keeping away from Ortiz.
Mm-hmm.
Ortiz is terrible at cutting off the ring. You only have to look at his fight against Malik Scott, where he allowed Malik Scott to just trot around the ring for 12 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Where Derek Chisora stopped Malik Scott. Derek Chisora stopped Malik Scott. Let that sink in. So You know,
And that was a
Ortiz,
12-round fight.
he's gonna have to get Wilder to. He's gonna have to walk Wilder onto a shot.
Yep.
Because that's his only chance, really.
Yep. You can't follow him around the ring. No way.
But now, to be fair, wasn't his...
I remember Precise said that he should try to like play dead,
Oh, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like make Wilder think he hurt him. Then he'll start wildly swinging for the knockout as he always does, and then maybe he'll leave himself open.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
That Deontay Wilder's the sort of guy who'd fall for that. He would fall for that. He's not the smartest guy when it comes to boxing. He isn't
At all.
He sees blood. He's like a vampire. He sees blood and he goes absolutely wild.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, his technique goes out the window. His chin goes up in the air. His legs are in the wrong place. He's a knockout waiting to happen. And I think that's a very good point. I mean, pretend you're hurt and then come up with a counter. Because, like I said, I don't think he's very durable as it is. Taking all that weight off him is not going to make him more durable.
That's a good point, man. I mean, tell you something. Deontay Wilder, he should be concentrating on doing nothing but neck exercises. Strengthen that neck, because that knockout is coming. I don't know if it's going to be Ortiz. I don't know if it's going to be Joshua. But we know his chin is suspect. The fighters he's fought so far have not tested his chin all that much. I mean, I know Eric Molina stunned him, but Stiverne, most of the shots that he hit him with were grazing shots. He never really got a full flush good shot in there. Too small. He's also too short to really get that punch in. If anybody can knock him out, it's Ortiz. But again, I'm not changing my pick, man. I'm sticking with Ortiz. And by the way, you mentioned Stu. You mentioned Malik Scott against Chisora. If I remember correctly, wasn't that stoppage controversial? I think so, right?
Well, if Matt, listen, let's not talk about controversial when it comes to Malik Scott, because this guy here, I mean, he threw the fight
he took
against
a dive
Wilder.
for Wilder.
He took a dive against Wilder, and the guy decided to get up at 9.5 seconds and then moan. I mean, come on, man. He just wanted a way out. Malik Scott wears eyeliner. He's not made for boxing.
There was this picture where he was with this girl he met, and somebody pointed out how ashy his feet were, because his feet were like just one big bunion.
He wears like nail varnish.
He was talking about how his whatever you call it, the people that do your feet, how she was out of town
Koreans.
for the month.
Yeah, it was Bivol's mother. It was Bivol's mother that was doing his feet, the manicures. But I have a hard time figuring what does Malik Scott's ashy feet have to do with the fight? I don't get it. Reverse.
There's just something to add on to how, like, because I saw
The
Stuart mentioned his
circus.
eyeliner.
Yeah, it's a circus.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Malik Scott is a feminine guy. He dresses and his tattoos
Wears
are just
purple.
a feminine. Yeah, look at the clothes he wears. He's a proper feminine guy, and he's not built for boxing. This guy took the dive against Wilder. He never. I mean, it didn't even graze his hair, and he's sitting
It
there.
like
I mean,
touched his
it's
face a little bit.
Like I said, he wanted a way out against Chisora. I'm not going to have it. He was robbed. It was just an excuse. The thing is, a lot of fighters now these days can't count to 10 and then claim robbery when they get stopped because they can't count to 10.
Now I want to get back. First of all, what's the name of that fighter, light heavyweight fighter that got caught doing gay porn? What was his name? He fought Librado Andre.
No, he fought Carl Froch. Was it
Yusuf
Matt?
Yusuf Mack, yeah. Do you think we're gonna see? Well, first of all, I'm not gonna see it because I don't watch that type of shit. But do you guys think he's gonna pop up? You guys think Malik Scott's gonna pop up in a gay porno one of these days? Or would you be surprised?
Car masturbating in the background.
All right, enough filth. I wanted to talk about... Oh yeah, Malik Scott. Here's the thing. People are saying, oh, come on, you can't... We have no proof that he threw the fight. But I will say this.
I mean, we watched the fight.
Well,
Yeah.
let me tell you...
I have eyes, they work.
Well, yeah, let me tell you this. Don't you guys find it weird? Whenever somebody gets stopped, a fighter gets stopped, after the fight, they always complain about, oh, they shouldn't have stopped the fight. They robbed me. I was okay. Yeah, that's what they always say. They complain to the ref. I was okay. I was okay. This guy accepted the loss.
I usually only see that from Americans.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is, Malik Scott didn't complain. He didn't complain. After the fight,
he got the payout.
I mean, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Just like
here.
how Jared Washington didn't complain. And he was actually alright.
Jerome Washington, I thought he was eating punches.
Because if you watch the fight, like the last two windmills that Wilder threw, they missed. And then Jared Washington just stood straight up and walked back to his corner after the stoppage.
No, he stumbled to his corner. He stumbled. I saw... But you can't see it very well because the camera is moving. But I saw him stumbling onto the ropes as he was trying to go to his corner. I think the guy was... He was eating shots on the ropes. Now, like I said in the film analysis, and Butcher was... And Butcher wasn't there that day, but... The thing with Wilder is, when he does that windmill, the referees panic. And they jump in right away. I mean, I don't know if that has something to do with the promotion or whatever, if it's all fixed, but when he does that windmill, these referees panic. Now, the Gerald Washington fight, I'm not so sure if that one was illegitimate, but the Malik Scott one, my God, was that just weird. That one was bizarre. All right, let's Caccinello, give me my fight.
Has anybody noticed like how
different?
Has anybody noticed the differences in Kovalev since he got a new trainer?
The difference in no, not really.
I just said that I don't see anything. I don't see him getting better.
Yeah, because like his punches have a lot more snap in them since he switched over to the Russian trainer. And he actually like had this. I don't know if any of you saw this. He had a media workout where he's throwing like 10 punch combinations on the bag.
Whoa.
He's got a lot more
I
speed.
did see that.
I think it's like because his new trainer, I think before like they talked, Cove was with Abel Sanchez and he was with we all know he was with John David Jackson. I think his like he really has like a heart-to-heart trainer fighter relationship with his new trainer.
He was training himself basically.
Yeah, essentially. He always said that John David Jackson was just a mitt man.
I noticed one thing in the Ward fight. His accuracy was horribly off. Usually Kovalev was a very technically very sound puncher, very accurate, used to connect on the button constantly. But he was... I know Andre Ward's tricky, but even so, his accuracy was off. The speed wasn't there. The snap in the punches wasn't there. He looked an old man to me, and he was still good enough to do Ward, I think, until that travesty happened. Do you know? That's my opinion. I don't think it's going to get any better. I think we might see a couple of good performances from him, but then you can only go on for so long. And if he's drinking, like people say, then it's a matter of time.
He says that he stopped that.
Well, like Precise said, you look at Kovalev's body, it's never been... He has a weird body for a boxer, kind of soft looking, which is what a lot of people were saying when he started knocking people out, like saying, wow, he doesn't look like he carries that type of power. I guess his diet is... Or maybe it's genetics, I don't know. But hey, listen, he admitted he'd been drinking a lot, so maybe that had something to do with it. Pavel says...
I'd like someone to teach him a bit of inside game as well. It's just inside game is just not
horrid.
Good enough.
Horrid? Would you describe it as horrid or just mediocre?
No, not horrid. No, it's not horrid. Just not good enough. Just not good enough.
Yeah, I would say he needs more of it.
He let Andre Ward. He let Andre Ward outwork him on the inside. He basically did nothing. Just let Ward hold him, and very Eastern European, like me and Precise always say. They like their straight punches. They like everything to be on the end of the straight punches. And sometimes I'd like them. And Kovalev seriously needs to get an inside game, and then he can be a serious threat. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
that's the thing. People love to talk about. Well, they point to Golovkin. They say, well, he's a pressure fighter. But if you notice Golovkin, he doesn't fight on the inside all that much. He likes to get in and out. He's still at heart a bit of a... He's a mix between a European fighter with some of that North American body punching, but for the most part, he's not a head-to-head type guy. And yeah, it would be nice to see Kovalev getting himself upgrading to the inside game. Boxing style in the chat room, he's saying he better upgrade to better nut cups as well. Well, if he's gonna fight Andre Ward, like I said, yeah, he would definitely need a new cup. Maybe one that's made out of adamantium, I would suggest that, or titanium. Something that would make Ward break his hand when he hits him there. But then again, I already mentioned, if they fight, it better not be a boxing fight. They better do it naked in a shower, in a Russian sauna, and they have to be naked, by the way.
Hey,
by the way,
you could put the Iron Man, you could put the Iron Man suit on. Them fucking punches he took would have damaged most men. I mean, they were full power uppercuts to the bollocks.
Well, it's also interesting because Undercover Asian is saying,
talk about cups all you like. It's disgraceful.
I know, man. What are you gonna do? You know, it's in the past. And Undercover Asian says, yeah, Ward had a great game plan. It worked for sure. He knew when to turn it up and work the body instead of headhunting. They had that plan in the first fight too, because after he got dropped, you could hear Virgil Hunter telling him in the corner, "We're gonna step it up. We're gonna stop him." So they always knew that Kovalev had mediocre stamina. So I don't know if they heard that from their sources, because you do know that Andrew Ward and Virgil Hunter, they're those type of guys. They have cells all over the place that feed them information on other fighters, because these two guys, they don't look at boxing as something that just happens inside the ring. They want to get every advantage they can outside of the ring too, which is...
Because the motherfucker can't fight, because he's a bum who can't fight. So he has to look for all these advantages outside of the ring.
Yeah, and if you look at like Kovalev, when he gets hit low, he really doesn't like that, because there's this one fight where I can't remember the guy's name, but it was on HBO. The guy low blowed Kov, then he looked at the ref to administer a warning, and then the guy smacked Kovalev in the face and dropped him. But I think Kov still stopped the guy in like the second or third round.
Which fight was that, you said?
I can't remember. It was on HBO. I think it was right before the Hopkins fight.
Was it that Australian guy, or was it Cedric Agnew? No, wait a minute.
It wasn't Cedric Agnew.
Okay, so it must have been... I think it must have been that Australian guy, the bald guy. What was his name? I know it's not all that important, but I'm gonna look it up anyway. What's this? Anybody remember?
Caparello.
Caparello, yes,
Yeah,
thanks.
Caparello.
Blake Caparello. Blake Caparello, yes.
Yeah, it was.
All right, so yeah, there you go. But listen,
Kovalev as well. He never goes to the body. Never goes to the body. He throws a jab to the body.
He knocked that guy out with a straight right to the body.
Yeah, I was just about to say he does throw a straight right to the body, but it's never like serious body work that's gonna do a lot of damage. He needs to do more body work. The body work is just as key as the head work.
You guys underrate his insight game. He has,
that's the thing.
A
like,
very good insight game, but
if
like
you watch
negative insight game.
If you watch the Ward fight, when Ward gets in there and he starts tangling him up, Kovalev actually starts like scraping hooks like right across Ward's face. He does have good inside fighting to a degree. He's had a lot of fights with a lot of different people.
He's not a classical, like Mexican, let's be stereotypical inside fighter who just gets close to you and works with both hands, right? He's not that kind of guy. But that's neither is Andre Ward. He doesn't fight on the inside. He just
holds and hits.
He's wrong all the time. Yeah, he holds and hits. That's not inside fighting. And if you get a good ref that doesn't allow the bullshit, Andre Ward can't fight on the inside, and he would never be even able to close the distance because Kovalev's got better feet, and he would keep him at the end of his punches. The only way he was able to get close to him is by jumping in with his head and grabbing a hold of him, and that's really all that happened. So that's not, I don't see that as inside fighting. I mean, it's allowed, I suppose, by corrupt referees and shit, and Andre Ward gets all this credit for inside fighting, but he can't fight on the inside. He can't. Not within the rules.
Inside fighting is when you put both of your arms in front of your body and you fight somebody at close range.
Yeah.
Now, I will say...
Kovalev used a lot of his energy in the holding with Ward, in all the grappling that was going on, the holding, that drains a lot of energy out of you, and he wasted far too much time holding Ward. I know that Ward was doing the holding, but he was obviously holding himself, getting hold of Ward's arms, holding him so Ward couldn't do any work, and that takes a lot of strength out of you as well. Instead of wasting a lot of energy on that, he should have just got out of there quick. He pushed Ward away if he has to.
No, but he clearly won the first fight doing that. He dominated the first fight by nullifying Andre Ward on the inside, out wrestling him on the inside, and pushing and manhandling him like a little baby boy and taking him to the ropes and that was when the referee would jump in once he was started to manhandle Andre Ward after he had to defend that initial bum rush. Right, he got pushed back a little bit, but then he grabbed hold of him and manhandled him. The problem was he didn't do that in the second fight. I don't know why, but he didn't nullify Andre Ward's dirty shit on the inside for some reason. That fight there's something terribly wrong with that fight, man. You already have the blueprint to beat the guy. You beat him already once, and then you're all of a sudden you're not using the same blueprint you used in the first fight. Why?
Exactly, bro. That's what I was disappointed with. Spot on.
I actually thought Kovalev was doing better the early rounds against Ward in the second fight. He was busting up Ward's nose more than he had in the first fight. I mean, unless you count that knockdown as being more significant in the first fight, I thought Kovalev was doing a better job in the second fight. Now, I will mention this about the inside fighting, or the body punching, I should say. Remember that last round against Ward? Kovalev finally went to the body in the last round, and he hurt Kovalev with a left hook to the body, which is why I was surprised that he didn't go to the body more in the second fight, which if you've watched the 12th round of the first fight, you know it would have been effective. So I don't know what happened there either. And by the way, Bucho, are you there?
He let Andre Ward drain a lot of his energy with the holding.
Yeah, that too. I agree with you there. That because you could see Kovalev he was throwing some punches on the inside, but it was mostly Ward doing the work on the inside when they were holding, and Kovalev was struggling to keep Ward in a vice grip so that he couldn't be hit on the inside. I think that tired him out a lot. Bucho,
Ward,
go ahead.
You know, he was probably a lot stronger in the second fight, seeing as he was just roided the fuck up. You know? I mean, how did he get all shredded all of a sudden? And then he had pimples on his chest, pimples on his back. He was dragging his feet about doing drug testing. You know, the whole big thing. And
his feet were lighter in the second fight.
Yeah, he was juiced to the fucking gills. That's what happened. Like, it's not rocket science, guys. Like, he didn't really adjust technically. What did he do differently?
Yeah,
he was just stronger he was all of a sudden much stronger. And Kovalev wasn't doing the same things that he did in the first fight for some odd reason.
By the way,
that was Kovalev looked like he'd got worse. It got worse overnight, sort of thing. He got old overnight.
Well, he certainly got worn down in the second fight a little bit as well, so that might have played a factor in there as well. By the way, I want to ask King Bucho, are you there, man? Calling King Bucho, are you there? Calling Bucho. No, I think he's. This guy's fucking. Bucho, are you there? No, okay, forget it. Anyway, Akuma's Deception asked me in the chat if Ward would be an elite fighter if he weren't allowed to use his dirty tactics. And, you know, look,
no.
I defend Andre Ward when it comes to that he does have good defensive skills, but you look at the Kessler fight, which was almost 10 years ago, and you look at how much holding he did, the headbutts, the Sakio Bika gave him a taste of his own medicine, and he struggled in that one. Arthur Abraham, too slow, perfect fighter for Andre Ward. Andre Ward just ran circles around him. Stationary guard. Froch, I give him credit, you know, he tried to bust Froch up on the inside. That's a good win. He didn't really do it. I didn't see that much dirty tactics. I don't know if you guys disagree with me on that one.
Lots of holding. He wasn't really like elbowing or headbutting, but it was lots of holding. Lots.
I think Cole Froch were his best that night. The fight had been cancelled a couple of times. But his missus has just had a baby, so he's away from his family. And obviously he's out there doing a camp. It gets cancelled. He has to go and do another camp, go back out there. So no excuses. He lost the fight, but I don't think it was the best Carl Froch. The Carl Froch that beat Lucien Bute would have been a lot closer, that's for sure.
Yeah, because Ward actually wanted to fight him in a... They wanted to make Carl Froch fight him in Oakland, but he refused that, and so they were able to get the fight in, I think, New Jersey, and Andre Ward called that fighting on the road for him.
Andre Ward had not fought away from home in the fighter that had not fought away from home.
Yeah, he didn't fight in Denmark.
In the Super 6, there wasn't, if I'm not mistaken, there wasn't one on the road victory.
Yeah, exactly. He never fought in Denmark. He never fought in England. It wasn't until the final that he fought outside of Oakland. So listen, we're talking about Andre Ward, and people might be saying, "Why do you guys have a hard-on for Andre Ward?" No, it's because we got to remind people of what he did. That's all. We just want to remind you.
He did.
What? What did you ask?
Froch,
anyway.
Apparently, Froch, there was one fight he had in the Super 6 that he went on the road for.
Oh, yeah. Froch went on the road. He fought in Denmark.
When he won against Arv Abraham in Finland, and he beat Glenn Johnston in America.
And he fought...
was that in the Super 6, though?
Yeah, he fought Abraham in the Super 6 in Finland.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I respect Carl Froch.
in US, right?
Yeah, but that was...
Yeah, no, that was in Super 6, though.
No, that was pre Super 6.
That was in America.
That was in America?
That was in... Yeah.
It was, but it was pre Super 6. Alright, listen, guys, we have to go. It's getting near fight time, and I have to set up some things. Because let me tell you something. You people think that I just turn the fights on and I start watching them. No, there's a whole ritual. Because let me tell you something. When I watch the fights, I get down, if you know what I'm saying. I party hard. First, what I do is I get myself a couple of ice cream sodas. No sugar, by the way. Low fat. Get myself some pretzels, unsalted. And I go to town, man. Let me tell you something. You people think I don't party? I party hard. And by the way, Bucho, I know you were there. Or I don't know if you're there, actually. I don't think you are. If you're gonna drop off all of a sudden, but keep your icon in there, you better tell me that you're not there, because I might need you at the last minute, or something might happen, some technical difficulty, and I need my backup here, and you just disappeared. What's the matter with you? What is the matter with you?
What's that supposed to be, some kind of sick joke?
You better get your ass in line, man, next time, because we are gonna do, by the way, people out there, before we leave, I want to remind you to sign up and subscribe to BDA Live. This is where we hold a live podcast, so don't forget about that. Don't forget to sign up and subscribe to BDA, the normal one, or normal channel, which is where we have the film analysis. And I want to thank, as always, Precise Presenter for being here. Check out his channel on YouTube, where he posts a lot of good content, very insightful content. And you got to keep in mind, Precise Sponsor, he shut his channel down a couple of months ago, and he's only been back a couple of 2 months or something like that, and he's already racking up the views. So that just goes to show you that he's been a staple of the YouTube community for a while. And you can't kill Precise Presenter, or maybe you can kill him in physical form, but I'm pretty sure he would come back in some sort of like a digital ghost or something and keep that channel up. Reverse, I gotta ask you, have you been maintaining your channel? Are you gonna do more videos there?
Yeah.
I
might make a if you watch the Takashi Miura tribute video, I might make one of those for Yamanaka.
Oh, okay. Because
he just officially retired Thursday.
Yeah, that was a disgusting thing that happened with Luis Neri. I gotta tell you, it's I don't want to we'll talk about it tomorrow, man, because I already talked about it before, but that is just a disgusting thing that's gonna happen. By the way, Fox,
how long do you think Mikhalkin will last?
Who?
Mikhalkin.
I'm gonna go ahead and say between 6 and 7 rounds, 6 and 8 rounds. I think he's pretty sick. But you know, he has that tall, lanky neck. You know those tall guys who are lanky and have that thin neck. Those are the type of guys that Kovalev eats up, because he snaps their head back and just ends their night prematurely. They go down, they get hurt. So I think between 6 and 8 rounds. That's what I think.
You know, him and Kov are like best friends.
No kidding. Oh yeah, don't their friend? No, actually, I didn't know that.
If you just watch the weigh-in, there's no tension in the fight.
Well, all right. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, Kovalev, whether you're his friend or his worst enemy, he's still gonna kick your ass in the ring. I mean, he's still gonna try to. So I don't.
Yeah, that's true. Because he and Vyacheslav were friends back in the day too, and look what he did to him.
Yeah, didn't they say they were swingers or something? Like they traded wives? Or did I imagine that?
I don't remember hearing about that. But
Yeah, I think I imagined that. Listen, all right, so Reverse, I suppose also you're very busy right now, so you can't make videos. You don't have as much time making videos, right?
No, I don't.
All right, and Stu just dropped off the line. I was going to ask him. Well, I already asked him, actually. People keep asking him, when are you going to do another channel? When are you going to do another channel? He's not into it right now, he said. But you can still hear him on this channel and see hear his witty commentary. And let me tell you something, if you want news about boxing or interesting topics, you just listen to Stu. He'll liven your night up. I want to ask something. The Fox Strikes, he's in the chat room. The Fox Strikes, are you formerly known as Red Fox? Because he's saying in the chat that he deleted his channel because boxing doesn't do it for him anymore. So I just need some confirmation if the Fox Strikes is actually Red Fox. Chris Gonzalez, okay, yeah, he says yeah. I wonder why he got disillusioned with boxing. Chris Gonzalez, BDA, when are you going to do a post-fight podcast? Soon. We're going to work on that soon, but it's just, man, here in the East Coast, after the fights end, sometimes I'm too tired during the fights. And I don't know about doing post-fight. I would love to, though. If I had the energy, man, we're going to do it one day. We're going to do it. Michael Stott says, I'm doing a live podcast at least once a week, so check out Michael Stott's channel. We will be doing a post-fight podcast tomorrow to keep, just keep up to date about what happens tonight. So everybody in the chat room saying peace out. We're about to go. Some people are watching the UFC right now. So yeah, we're going to do it. And by the way, Second Renaissance, I'm happy to say, is operational. We're going to start broadcasting some podcasts there, some non-boxing podcasts. So I just want to remind people, if you don't, because we can't, sometimes if we start talking non-boxing here, people start getting bored and they start telling us to talk boxing. So if you want to hear what our panelists have to say regarding non-boxing stuff, about society, about culture, about politics, we're going to start doing some of those podcasts over at Second Renaissance. We're going to put a link on our main channel, or maybe here as well. Final thing, let's go to the chat room. Shout out to everybody that was here. Foul Pole Boxing, shout out to him. Boxing Style, Michael Stott, Akuma's Deception, Corruption in Boxing, who was here also. Covert Operative, Boxing Style, Kaiser Koba, Jehobi Mixey. Who else coming? Chris Gonzalez. Red Fox was also here, also now known as the Fox Strikes. You don't want to get struck by the Fox, let me tell you that much right now. Who else we got? Michael Stott, I already mentioned him. Dino was here. Cachnello, Give Me My Weight. Alan Domireki. I hope I got, not Dromireki. Whatever. Alan. Just call you Alan. I hope you can live with that. Seth Shot. I thought he was Seth Shot. Shout out to him. Everybody else. And of course our panelists. Guys, thank you for joining us. I always appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow at, I want to say, between 4 and 5. You know what? I'll put it in Twitter, but most likely we'll go on at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. And we'll try to limit it at from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Alright, guys. So thank you for joining us. It was another BDA Boxing Podcast. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the fights.
Bye-bye.